Hello Twitch chat and welcome to day 2 of the Superstar Cup. We are about to go live now with some really exciting games. We had an amazing group stage yesterday with 7 rounds of very exciting Swiss, and now is the culmination that we've all been waiting for. It is the finals day. So let me switch over and take a look at the bracket here. We can see that our first game of the day will be Atomic Pyro, that is Gara and X-God, versus Neca Spirit, which is Green Spirit and Neca Pain. So this is a pretty interesting game, and with me to discuss I have my glorious, as always, co-caster, it's Mr. Crazy.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me, Penny. And let's just focus on the matchup we have here. As I did my research for this matchup, and since we saw them play yesterday, I actually saw that Neca Spirit is the only team in there who hasn't won against any of the other participants, if I'm not mistaken, especially not against Atomic Pyro. They lost to Atomic Pyro. Atomic Pyro won against everyone else in this bracket besides Ganked by Bananas. So actually, I think we do have kind of a favorite here, just due to how the last match they played out, but I think it will still be a rather close one because all the teams that made it here really showed off that they can play at a high level. So I think we'll hopefully not see any like sweeps, but rather some close games.
Yeah, I'd love to see like at least 2 out of the 3 series going the whole length. So just in case anyone in Twitch chat isn't aware, the semi-finals are both going to be best of 3 series and the grand final will be a best of 5. So we've got a potential for up to 11 matches today, which would be pretty insane. I'm not sure that I can actually cast for that long, because I'm not going to lie, I was exhausted yesterday at the end of the Swiss. But let's see. I think for the viewers, for sure, it's always exciting when series go the length. So let's hope for some really nice matches today. I think the level of play yesterday was probably higher than any of us expected going into this. And certainly like some of the matches just looked like as good as anything that you're used to seeing on like the Grandmaster League and stuff like that. So really well played to the pros and the influencers. They've managed to work well together. They've managed to teach each other and learn some of the tricks. And yeah, it really paid off yesterday.
I mean, it really did. We saw some close games. We saw that actually the person who was initially ranked 1 at the start of creating all these brackets, which was Aviator, dropped out with his teammate. And that shows something. I mean, for now, the rank 1 ladder is Ashton, who's still in here. But I mean, it shows that even though you're not rank 1 and you're paired up with a supposedly weaker player in your influencer, you can still like manage to take some hits and dish out some ones and like. Not the favorite was bound to win for the entire thing, at least.
Yeah,
for now.
for sure. And interesting anecdote, because I just got beaten myself on the ladder by Neca Spirit. So Green Spirit and Neca Pain, they actually beat myself and Shadow Wings pretty handily on a Wave 18 loss for us. So that was a contestant versus caster match, and the contestants won. So well played to those guys.
I mean, I saw that you took a beating. It's juicy 27 elo that you lost there.
Yeah, juicy for them, maybe not so juicy for me.
Yeah, it happens. Let's just say that your head was already in the tournament, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. That's my excuse as well, for sure.
I mean, it's great to be here casting today. I mean, would you have thought that the team of Crazy and Penny would actually make it today too? I don't think anyone expected that.
This is the only way that me and you are getting to day 2 of a tournament, if we're casting.
Whoa! That's kind of sad, considering I've been to the day 2 of a tournament as a top seed.
Let's say it was a reflection on my own performance rather than yours then.
Yeah, I'm just... That was a long time ago. The scene was different back there. Anyways... So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad we got to cast some real nice matches, and I think that the contestants are like already waiting, aren't they? I mean, they checked in already, and our game should be starting soon.
I've got a few messages flashing up on my Discord, so I can have a look at those. Casters are ready. So Seraphim is saying that first and second seed have the send priority. It means they decide against who they send. So
yeah. So that would be Atomic Pyro and Crash and Burn. But
I've
I
got
think that they're
messages
actually
from
waiting
you
for
as
someone
well.
to.
Okay,
Pardon?
yours is screenshots. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I think that you're supposed to open up the lobby because
All
I think
right.
everyone's waiting for you again.
Well, I'm happy to open up the lobby. So, lobby is available. I am in there. Mastermind mode is selected, and let's get some of these players in on here. Oh, I invited the wrong person.
Let's just hope they understand that they shouldn't join. No, I'm positive that people are aware of this tournament, and yeah. So, anyways, who are your favorites here? The higher ranked, at least from this day one, so the higher ranked in the bracket, which are Firebat and Ashton Butcher, or rather Necropain and Green Spirit, since they just beat you and you know which level of play they can bring.
It's really hard to say. I think X-God and Gara had fantastic performance yesterday. And I think Necropain are really solid as well. Although they only kind of got in very closely with that match against Aviator and Civ HD, remember? Because that was the game where I literally didn't know who won. I had to go and check one of the profiles to see who was the victor of that one, because it was the closest match I've ever seen.
Yeah, and actually you tricked me. Yeah, it's of course not Ashton and Firebat playing. They're playing the second game. I just got confused by them joining here. Yeah, obviously it's Gara and X-God playing, and
Yeah, Gara and X-God now, and Necropain and Green Spirit. So we need to get those guys in the room. Has Green Spirit left?
I think Green Spirit has left. I think he. Yeah. Yeah. He obviously has. Just re-invite him, I guess. So, anyways, yeah, it's gonna be a close one, and I think that some of the games in the bracket stage came down to the wire, or in the open stage in the Swiss system came down to the wire.
Yeah.
And I really do hope we get to see it, because we're seeing every game now. We're passing every game after each other. There's no parallel stream, nothing. So I do really, really hope that we get some close ones here, because I'm sure we missed some yesterday, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some very nice and close games.
Oh, for sure, dude, for sure. Sorry, I'm trying to reach out to X-God to get him in on the game so that we can actually get started. We don't want to keep the viewers waiting.
I mean, they're waiting 10 minutes anyways.
Yeah, so we don't want them to wait another 5.
Yeah, that's obviously true. I'm just joking around. So yeah, anyways, we have Green Spirit and Necropain who got in a bit controversially, at least internally. People complained about Green Spirit and Necropain advancing due to them beating more of the tied teams. They won 2 games against the other 3 tied teams. But their book holds was actually lower than another player's or another group's book holds. And they advanced here, and that sparked a conversation regarding what should be rated higher.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's kind of unjust, because the rules were communicated in before, and making people like Green Spirit feel like they don't deserve, or Green Spirit and Necropain feel like they don't deserve to be here, is actually kind of somewhat unfair to them and to the performance they brought to the game.
That's
Yeah.
I mean, that's rubbish. Like Green Spirit and Necropain absolutely deserve to be in this final. Like there's no doubt in my mind that these guys deserve to be in the final. They played really well yesterday, and at the end of the day, it came down to like a skin of their teeth thing, because if Aviator and Civ HD had won what was the closest game in Legion history, then there wouldn't have been tiebreaker at all, right? It would have just been Aviator and Civ in the final. So, you know, it's tough for Aviator, and it's tough for Adam's, and I think was it Bonnie's team who was the other one in the tiebreaker. Like it sucks to lose on a tiebreaker. I understand that, but that doesn't take anything away from Green Spirit and Necropain, who both played fantastically and deserve to be in the finals 100%.
Yeah. I do very much agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, most of the teams that didn't qualify had it in their own hands. Like, I mean, even though they lost, for some of them it came really down to the last game. For example, for the Flying Dutchman, who lost their last game, they could have won it and then they would have advanced, but unfortunately for them, they didn't. So I think we should just stop that topic for now because it is what it is. People have complained. People will complain. We're here. We're in for a treat. I don't think that it would have impacted like the scheduling or the entire bracket in any way that one team would be better than this one or would be slightly better. I think it comes down to the day-to-day performance, and I think whoever's in a better shape today would have been the better team today anyways because they're so closely matched, otherwise they wouldn't have ended up in a tiebreaker.
Let me just check if the French cast is ready, and then we can actually get into the game. It looks like the players are all here and ready.
I would very much appreciate the French cast to write the casual oui.
Au naturel, sec. So we are just waiting on the French, as always.
British waiting for the French. Name a more iconic duo. Yeah. And actually, as we said, the bracket will not be played simultaneously, so one after the other. So I do really hope that the players accept that, because otherwise we will just have to redo their games because we won't count anything that doesn't happen on our stream.
All right, we are getting into it, guys. So let me just fire up here. And I do need to turn on my own cam because at the moment we've got a lovely crazy, however slightly lonely, with the only webcam available. So let me just turn my own on as well.
This almost feels like a classic game with 8 people loading into it.
Yeah. This is pretty exciting. I love having a dual language cast for Legion games. That's really cool for me to have like a French and an English stream going simultaneously.
I do agree. I think it's a very good thing. It's actually kind of surprising we didn't think of this earlier. I mean, I know, for example, the German-speaking community is big, and so I wonder why no one has ever like made a German cast, let alone a French cast or a Russian cast, which all of that we saw yesterday. And anyways, jumping into the game, we can see Pawn Shop, Lizard Army, and Press the Attack. So Penny, what do you think about these Legion spells?
Well, I love the aggressive spell, so Press the Attack is the one that stands out the most to me. I'm not the biggest fan of Lizard Army, but Pawn Shop is like one of those sleeper spells. It's actually really strong. It gives you a nice injection, the 85 gold as soon as you pick it up, but that 90% sell is just so interesting to me. Like, it turns all of your units into Grolls. So you can just really clutch insane plays when you have Pawn Shop available, because let's say you're expecting a send on 15 and all of your units are terrible for the wave, but you have, I don't know, Priestess or you've got the Azaria in your role. You can just sell all of your natural units for 90% value, turn them into Azarias, and all of a sudden you're holding like a massive send on your weakest wave. So I think Pawn Shop can definitely be one of the most interesting spells in the game when it's used to its full potential.
Especially considering that there are some units or some roles that are especially early game focused. So if you pick up your role and you end up with, for example, a Bone Warrior opener or a Bone Crusher opener, you might be tempted to like just use the Pawn Shop if you're forced into it because you need a defensive spell to just remake it, because otherwise a Bone Crusher later on or a Fire Archer later on is rather bad, bad value. But in this case, with this spell in the game, it really creates an interesting concept.
Yeah. Gar are going for his Pyro opener. So X-God has told him he's not allowed to lock in Pyro anymore. He has to play Greed. But when he gets the Bazooka, he starts the Pyro. So he's got his comfort role here. This was like his training unit, like when he first started playing Legion, he just locked in Pyro every game. And now he's got that comfort unit, so let's see if it pays off for him here.
Pyro and we can see everyone starting Greed. Yeah. I mean, we can see everyone starting Greed besides Necropain. Necropain opting for what I assume to be redraw.
Yeah.
We saw King upgrades all around on wave 1, so pressure will be rather low in the early game. Although we can see Necropain already sending a Snail. So what do you think about a Snail against the mask build that we saw from XCOM?
I mean, it's just feed, right? So I think... Well, he's sending Tagara, so the Snail's going to the Pyro. It's just pure food. So I think he just needed the income, right? Because he didn't send that king up on 1, so he just decided to take the 6.
Yeah. It's basically a delayed income. I mean, you feed your opponent 6 gold, but I mean, at least you didn't give up the pressure on wave 1. I mean, that's always the trade, because if your opponent goes for a super greedy start, you can always just like send 40 on 2, which breaks some builds, or even 60 or 80 on 3, and that really can be beneficial.
Oh, look at this though. Both of them on 6 workers. 7! X-God's on 7 workers. He knows he receives from an egg. He just goes, sod it. 7 workers. Yep, I'll do that. That's crazy, dude. Like, how often outside of a flower build do you see 7 workers before wave 3 starts? He's in such a good position here.
Yeah, it really comes down to, I mean, with this huge push, they might even be able to break the egg. I mean, okay, they won't. They will now see the Desert Pilgrim, and since it's positioned correctly, I think it will not break.
No,
but
so that will be a free egg there for Green Spirit, but I mean, I think you take giving him an egg if it means that you're on 7 workers wave 2.
I mean, and Scott actually also receiving the king up just makes it even better for him. It's not only that he doesn't leak, he also just we can also see that
goes completely unpunished, right?
Yeah, that Green Spirit gives up his pressure and just hands it over to X-God for this play.
So Green Spirit, how is he going to be able to come back on X-God now? Because 8 workers, 7 was not enough for Mr. X-God. He goes, no, 8 is where I want to be before wave 4 even starts. So Green Spirit with those 4 workers on his egg, he's just not adding any pressure on X-God. Like, the ball is completely in their court. He can kind of do what he wants.
Yeah, and I think we can see that that Green Spirit has to look at something like probably a wave 6, because that's where the mask isn't as strong.
Yeah.
Because he won't have enough Mythium for wave 5 to send a big one. And wave 7, the mask will just shred through the wave. So we will actually be looking at a wave 6 for Green Spirit to send on, I think.
And
the question is, can he...
The 80 send on Necropane, I think it might cause a leak on him. He just wasn't prepared to deal with the amount of pressure that X-God is putting out here. Wow, 42% leak there, whilst having really good units for wave 4. He has the Serpents, he has the Infiltrator.
I mean, he received... Sorry. He received the king up on 1, so that's some pressure that got elevated on him. And now he got 20 on 3, and he was thinking he might get a 40 reset, and then all of a sudden it's 2 Dragon Turtles, 80 Mythium running down his lane, and he's like, I'm doomed.
And if you thought that wasn't enough, here comes some more turtles. X-God is taking no prisoners in this match. He just really wants to start himself up on a massive snowball. Like, I can't remember the last time I saw 8 workers before wave 4 begins. This is really impressive play here from X-God, just realising, like, he has a strong early game roll, he's receiving from a very slow worker start with the egg, and he's just punishing that as hard as he can with this mega worker push early on.
And we can actually see X-God choosing not to add a snail here to his send. He just sent the Dragon Turtle. And Necropane countered it with boosting both of his Infiltrators, so he's actually looking not too bad here with that. Because it's just so much damage output that comes instantly and shreds through the boss, and the boss actually has so much of the damage of the wave.
Okay, so I was saying that X-God goes unpunished, but he does in fact take a 69% leap here, so there will be a bit of action going on. He does now go up to 9 workers, but I don't think he feels too badly about this league, to be honest.
No, every league there is just additional time for X-God's workers. I mean, 9 workers, that's crazy, especially considering that Gara can easily cover for his mate with his Pyro here. So there's not even king damage involved in this league, and I think that X-God will feel really good about this one.
I think that was absolutely crucial, though, for Green Spirit and Necropane. They needed to score that goal there. They needed to slow down X-God's mega push. Like, if he'd only leaked 1 or 2 creeps there on 5, they would be so far ahead. So the fact that it was a pretty substantial leak is good for Green Spirit and Necropane. They needed that.
I mean, for now, we can actually see that Green Spirit and Necropane also have pushed up fairly hardly. I mean, Gara has saved 120 Mythium against Green Spirit, and yet still Green Spirit is already on 7 workers. So actually, even though they took some hits early and they decided that they won't have that strong of an early game, they're now starting to push up and going towards the level that X-God is at the moment.
Yeah. Is he just leaking again to the resend? I think he is, right? Did he greed too far?
I mean, he can't kill off the single rockets because he's lacking single target damage, and that's 67% leak.
That's
just to a
back-to-back big
lizard.
leaks there, yeah. So I think the 1-on-5 by itself was kind of fine, and like he still had the most workers, so he was still generating the most Mythium while all of that went on. But to leak wave 6 again, and not small, you know, that's 67% here.
And it's even going to King.
I think XGod may have greeted too hard. Like I was here praising his aggressive play, but the fact that he leaks 5 and 6 back to back is, I think the advantage has now gone over to the side of Green Spirit and Necropain.
I would potentially agree with you if there was not XGod sending 2 brutes, Gara sending a mole here. I think if Green Spirit and Necropain can like compensate that and can hold it, then they're fine. Then they're ahead by far. But if they can't
let me check
hold it
again after this wave, right? We'll see what happens when these massive sends come through.
And actually, we might be looking at Green Spirit's Lizard that could actually cause a leak again. Like, XGod has pushed so far that he might just continue leaking since he pushed again last wave and wave 5 as well.
Now, Green Spirit, he has 885 value, but that is a massive send. It's 180 on him, it's 160 on Necropain. I think we might be seeing some pretty big leaks here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a mole against the elite archers, it's also a brute. And that brute will slow down the Hydra, who actually deals decent damage here. And it's not just Green Spirit receiving a big send, it's also Necropain leaking the 2 brutes and a third of the wave in itself.
Oh wow, okay. So I was saying that the advantage was in favour of Green Spirit Necropain. I think I may have spoken too soon, because this is going to be some insane king damage here on wave 7. Gara and XGod, they made the most use possible there with XGod leaking wave 5 and 6 with his high work count, just able to get out the insane amount of Mythium and really... I mean, they're scoring a big goal here, you know, they're getting a lot of damage done against the king. Way below 40% even. This is really good for them.
Yeah, and it's not just that they leak like 40% to 60% of the wave each. They also leak 3 brutes in a mole, and that's substantial damage, and that damage really shows now. And where we said that Green Spirit and Necropain could take the lead if they would have held here, by not holding, let's say, almost at all, they just took a huge hit there, and they're not even pushing on the same worker levels as XGod and Gara now. And even though they're saving up, so Green Spirit and Necropain, even though they just sent, they're not even at the worker count of XGod and Gara. So that's really worrying for the Necro Spirit team going forward.
Yeah. And the mole here, which is a classic send against Pyro on 8. I mean, just look at this. The Pyro hasn't even been able to tickle the wave yet, but the mole goes down, and now he's got perfect aggro split between the Pyro and the Kitty. I think he's just going to full hold.
It looks like it's full hold, and it's actually huge for him. I mean, with getting so much gold last wave, and Necropain and Green Spirit like building up the Mythium to punish their own leak. But with Gara just holding here, that there is no punish.
Yeah,
he got the gold from the leaks.
They needed
he got the gold from the leaks, and now he got just additional gold from killing the mole. It's just like, thank you, sir, for additional income.
Yeah. Gara now on 12 workers off the back of that. Green Spirit and Necropain only on 9 apiece. This game feels like it's just heavily in favour of XGod and Gara at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And Gara and XGod already saving up again, and Gara now hitting 200 Mythium soon, XGod on 185, whereas Necropain, who just sent, is just sitting at 80. There's so little pressure coming from an 80 send against Gara, who's on 12 workers for that now. What do you think, Penny? What are they going to do with the Mythium they saved up on Gara and XGod?
I mean, I don't know. They don't even have to send 10 if they don't want to. Maybe they do, because actually XGod's pretty weak himself on 10.
And no, they choose not to.
Okay.
I mean, Gara and XGod just holding their nerve and saying, we will hold whatever you send, and then we'll get a big revenge send on 11, potentially even with press the attack.
Yeah, I mean, Necropain sends a Hermit here, which I think is a pretty bad choice. I think you need to go for something like Dino or even post-income Mole if you really want to send, because like this, the Trinity Archer is just going to shred the boss's HP.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're looking at Gara's build prior to sending, you know that his only option for this wave is either building a new unit or upgrading his elite archer. And the Trinity Archer is a very good unit actually on 10. Since so much of its damage is usually split, but now it's just focusing on one boss, so that it's actually a very solid defensive unit here.
Yeah, so if we have a quick look at Gara's lane, it might be a leak. The Trinity Archer, though, no, it's just going to hold. Trinity Archer's enough. Meanwhile, in X-God's lane, we do see a small leak, but very small. Like, he's even going to kill the Brute there with his mask damage, and he's leaking a boss on very low HP, which is.
But he's giving away a shutdown.
That is a shutdown. Okay, so the shutdown helps, but look at their Mythium count, though. So Gara on 320, he can send a ram, which he does. I mean, this is just terrifying.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. It's so much that they can send, and that even prior to taking press the attack. They don't actually even take king damage. The boss doesn't even reach the king.
Yeah, and Gara and X-God, they're just readying themselves to go for the killing blow here on wave 11. They take the Lizard Army. Okay, that's interesting to me. Technically, it is more Mythium than press the attack, but you don't get to choose what that Mythium is, you know? It's a Lizard plus 45.
I mean, picking Lizard Army here really says something to me, and it says that Gara and X could probably want to send 13 as well, which is not bad looking at the builds of Green Spirit and Necropain, because usually when you take Lizard Army, you want to send most likely twice with it. Like, that's the idea behind it, especially if you're also being offered press the attack.
Yeah, but look at this.
So I think we're looking.
So Green Spirit, he's got a hardened Golem there, which will get the Chieftain buff. So he's got a very strong tank on this wave, like pretty much the perfect tank. But how does he ever kill the Siege Ram with a mole behind it as well? It's just going to live forever.
That's going to be a hard one, especially. I mean, the Chieftain in itself would be great against the wave because it just deals so much damage and it buffs up a very tanky unit here. But
his tank
the
is
Siege Ram
already
plus
down.
mole.
His tank dies before the Siege Ram does. So now he's got the chance to attack the creeps, but.
And it's not just that he can now attack the creeps. I mean, he's doing fairly okay considering he got an 480 cent here. He's probably full clearing. I think that the Trinity Archer is tanky enough to full clear here, but it's just his wave. There's an entire wave waiting at the gate.
Just an easy hold there for Green Spirit. That is fantastic. Does it keep them in the game, though?
I mean, you've got to survive there on 40% king HP. There's a 4x plus 7 wave creeps and a lizard coming. So it's going to be a close one.
Four Eyes is down. I think they survive here, but just look at the economic damage done there by Gara and X-God.
Yeah, they do barely live, but they don't have any king regen. They barely have any king upgrades at all.
The working situation is just heavily in favour of Gara and X-God as well. They have 15 each, while Green and Necker are both on 14 and 11, so quite a bit lower. Now forced to go for king upgrades as well, which just means that there's no pressure on top of X-God and Gara.
Yeah, I mean, even prior to king upgrading here, Green Spirit and Necropain almost matched the Mythium count of Gara and X-God, even though they just received a send. So that's kind of crazy, and that really shows where Gara's and X-God's work elite comes into play. And additionally, they also do have still Lizard Army, so there are still, for this wave 2 and for next wave 3, additional Lizards to their Mythium count.
Amazing. And yeah, they're just in such a strong commanding lead at the moment, Gara and X-God. I think they've played this game very, very well from start to finish. So let's see. I mean, Green Spirit and Necropain, they'll need to pull something special out of the bag to win this one, and I just don't see their path to victory at the moment.
I mean, especially looking at Gara's build, who's going to be the one receiving a mole here. I mean, Zeus's and Bazookas, in addition to the shields, to the Royal Guards, actually they do deal decent damage. And if you can focus down the golems one by one, it might be a good chance to hold, even though you're having a bunk and a pyro.
Yeah, but look at this. So this is another Lizard Army into not sending on 12 or 13. So I think they probably just should have taken press the attack on 11 instead. They'd have had a punchy ascend on 11, and they wouldn't have fed the lizards to their opponents on 12 and 13.
Yeah, I mean, 12 and 13, that's 5 lizards in total. That's 60 gold you're donating to your opponent. It's more than a worker.
Yeah.
But I think that the idea here was to really bait a Harden from Green Spirit just to send 14.
So they didn't manage to bait the Harden, but they did bait the 40 gold boost on the Orchids here from Necropain.
And I mean, now it's just
leaking quite
down
hard
to
here, though.
Yeah, both of them leaking are quite hard, I think. So actually,
That's shut
giving
down.
away shutdowns, both. One of them 50, one of them 25. I mean, at least with that can't hold. That can't hold. So that's 75 gold shutdown.
Plus
Just
the
because
damage
they
they're going to get
chose
on the
not to
king, plus
send.
the leak gold, yeah. So this is quite a lot of gold. We said that Neca Spirit needs to pull something special out of the bag. Well, I mean, this is the start of something special. I don't know that it's going to be enough. I don't know it's
Here's
going to
my
be
question
enough.
for you. Is it really Green Spirit and Necropain pulling something out of their hand, or is it more of Gara and Xgod being unaware and risking their game by not sending here? I mean, if they would have matched the send, they would have gotten income, they would have had a chance actually to end the game.
Yeah,
since
but
the builds
they're
are not
going for
too
the killing
strong.
blow again, so they didn't quite get the kill on 11, but here it comes again on wave 14. And this is massive sends again. There's a siege around there from Gara. There is Four Eyes, Pack Leader, Lizard from Xgod. We even get the question mark coming out from Green Spirit there.
I mean, he
So he's
failed
feeling
on
a
question
bit
mark,
cocky.
but I think so too. But I mean, he just received 75 gold worth of shutdowns, additionally to sending, so he got some income, and it really comes down because if Gara and Oscar don't manage to break them here, I mean, that will be like it won't be a comeback yet, but it will be a nice way to a comeback. But that being said, Gara and Xcode still have a huge advantage regarding their workers.
Yeah. And this is a massive send, and Necapain's very weak on this wave. Like, all of his DPS is magic apart from the coilers. All of his frontline is natural, really, apart from one steed. So the good thing is that the coilers are killing the backline sends. That's nice for him there.
But it actually is a problem because
Oh, but look at Green Spirit's lane.
the wave is too big, yeah.
Look at Green Spirit's lane. He's got some kind of nice focus there. He's going to leak pretty big, but it's all low. But this is just too much. This is 58% on Necapain, 72 on Green Spirit. This is game here. So Gara, Xgod, they were just in the lead in this game from start to finish.
And even though they leaked 13 giveaway shutdowns, their amassed Mythium was just too much.
Yeah.
It's also kind of interesting to see that Green Spirit did not choose to harden here. I wonder whether that might have changed anything, but I doubt it, honestly, because the send and the leak on Necropain as well was just too big.
Yeah, he didn't just need to hold his own lane, he needed to hold with enough stuff left mid to hold Necapain's leak, which just wasn't happening, I don't think. So, but yeah, really well played there from Gara and Xgod. I just want to have a quick look at some of the earlier waves there. We see Xgod going with a really aggressive opener, the False Maiden plus the Gargoyle. As soon as he sees that there's the egg play going on from Green Spirit, he just hard pushes. So he's got his 7 workers before wave 3 starts. He's got his 8 workers before wave 4 starts. And sure, he leaks wave 5 and 6 back to back. But then they get this crushing blow in on wave 7 with the big leaks taking 60% of the enemy king's HP on wave 7. And from there on, they just have an unassailable lead, really, on the side of Gara and Xgod. They take a little leak on 10 in return for a massive leak on 11, nearly ending the game there. So Neca Spirit just surviving with 4%. And then it's just, we saw that leak on 13, which maybe helped a little bit for Green and Necapain, gave them quite a bit of gold, but it just wasn't enough. And then the hammer just came down there on wave 14, ending the game in a decisive victory for Gara and Xgod. So well played to those guys.
I mean, a golden injection on 13 for Necapain and Green Spirit would have been something to really consider and going forward if the game had prolonged past the send, but it didn't. Yeah. And that send there, I mean, it's Green Spirit receiving 480 Mythium and Necapain receiving 540. I mean, that's over 1,000 amassed together, and neither of them held, so that was just a killing blow there. Even if they weren't as low as they were, it probably would have killed them, and so it didn't even matter that Xgod and Gara leaked on wave 13. It actually helped their cause.
So it looks like while we were casting this game, the second semi-finals started. So they're being run simultaneously rather than back-to-back, which I think is a little unfortunate because I would have loved to cast all of the games. But maybe if this one finishes a little quicker, we might still get to see the third game or so from the second semi-final.
Okay, so I lied earlier when I said that we would see all of the games, which is kind of interesting, but I don't think it's a big problem. We'll for sure get to see the best of 5 final, and I do really hope that at least this one goes to length.
People are like messaging me things on Discord. I don't think they realise that I am not checking Discord because I'm casting a game.
Yeah, they can message me. I mean, not SSP, but Shadowwings and SSP and Seraphim, they should actually keep us updated and not in any channel, but rather ping me or something. Or I think we could deal with it. I have it open on the second monitor for like emergencies. But I mean, it would have been better if that would have been communicated prior to us starting the cast.
Yeah, but we have 3 of the 4 players in the game now.
And we are just waiting for Necropain. I think he's just recovering emotionally from what happened to him due to
Yeah.
Green Spirit starting with an egg, and he really got the worst side of it, just due to his mate not having as much pressure early because he started two workers. So yeah.
And that was just a perfect example there from XCOD of how you punish an egg opener. Like he was kind of lucky that he was starting with such an aggressive opener in the first place. There is a little bit of RNG in that. But he just, as soon as he saw that egg, he knew that he had a very strong early game role and that he could easily punish the 2-worker start there from Green Spirit. And we saw him just put on a bit of a masterclass, really, with that mega hard push, 8 workers before wave 4, and just able to really steamroll through the game off the back of that early game power. So really well played there from XCOD. Love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, he went for an early game oriented role with Greed, so that's actually ballsy to say, because with redraw, I can totally understand it going for such an early game oriented role, but he did it and he managed to pull it off, since he just pulled ahead so far with his early game role that it didn't really matter how good his late game was.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need to see the late game if you can win the game on 11, right? And sure, the game went a couple of waves longer, but really, like their lead was just insurmountable after wave 11.
One might even argue it ended prior to 11 because they just amassed such a big lead earlier, just with their 7 big times lead on their opponents. They set them up themselves up really well.
But here we go. Game 2 is underway. We have a 1-0 lead in favour of Atomic Pyro. That's XCOD and Gara. Can Green Spirit and Necropain bring this back so that we get a 3-game series? Fingers crossed. I'd love to see 3 games here.
Yeah, I do agree. And actually, we can see that everyone's opting for Greed again. Besides Necropain, he went for Redraw. This time I checked it. And regarding our King spells, we can see Vampire, Titan, and Predator. And Penny... Predator was disabled for quite a long time now because people didn't seem to really grasp it, and it was changed and it was disabled. What do you think about Predator being in this game? And do you think it will have any effect on how the game shapes up, or do you think it will be just like run by?
So Predator is an interesting one. Obviously, you need to be able to shift that gold on wave 11, 12, and ideally 13 as well. So you kind of need a unit that's really strong on those waves. Things like Kingpin, Banana Bunk come to mind, where you can easily hold 11 and 12 while being a decent chunk under value. And then by the time you get to 13, you've got so much gold that it's pretty easy to hold there. So, for example, Gara has a very good role for that. He has the Banana Bunk in his role, but he's the only person who does. Now, Necropain maybe has similar possibilities because he could have like a Chieftain buffing a Buzz kind of thing, which is a fantastic tank on 11 plus good DPS. But let's see. I think Gara has the best role to abuse Predator, but he also has an insane Vampire role as well. So, I mean, let's see.
Yeah, I mean, let me remind you that each of the players only has one redraw or one reroll in the game, besides Necropain, who went for redraw.
Yep.
So he could actually still find a unit, but I also do agree with the statement that Gara most likely, at least from what we can see now with his role, is more likely to look at a Vampire role with his Holy Avenger plus Disciple combination.
Yeah, and I thought for a second that Green Spirit was going to open up with an egg sack again, but he changed his mind there, pushed the workers, and now he's going to go for an LOD instead.
Yeah, I think it's a wise choice. I mean, he saw how it ended on game 1. And I mean, last game he saw XCOD pushing off, or we saw X-Guard pushing off of Green Spirit's X-Dart, and now he's got like a Gate Guard, and the Gate Guard can still very heavily push early on, so it's kind of, even though the unit changed a bit, it's still a very good unit for the early game.
Gara even having the split here, so he is scared about a snail, which he doesn't receive though.
Yeah, and so everyone's saving up their Mythium for now. Just X-God being the only one who started at 5 workers. He's a bit ahead with the Mythium. Necropane slowly falling behind since he's just 4 workers, but now also up on 5. So everyone on 5 workers. And I think we're really looking at the sense that will come out against Wave 3. Where actually no one really looks to lead Wave 3.
X-God just pushing the cheeky 6th worker there. So he's not afraid of Wave 3. That's interesting to me. Is Necropane going to send the Dragon Turtle here? He is. Okay, he won't get the snail though. If Necropane was able to get a snail out here as well, I think he just destroys X-God's greedy 6-worker push.
But since he doesn't, actually X-God might go unpunished here.
He might just full hold, yeah. He has the Nekomata there to tank, he has the Infiltrator to deal damage, and the Infiltrator will not be tanked by the Dragon Turtle, so it's going to clean up the split really nicely.
And we can see the sends come out. Everyone's sending 40 except for X-God, who sent 60 into Green Spirit. And actually,
he turned his Graal into a canopy. Okay.
Yeah, that's not something you can see every day. I mean, I know there are some high elo players that actually tend to open even with canopy or go towards it rather early, but I do feel like still the Lord of Death has an edge as an opener over the canopy.
Yeah. That's a really interesting play for Green Spirit for sure. He does push up to his 7 workers now, but how is he going to hold Wave 5, honestly? What's his option there?
Pray that X-God doesn't get out a Brute plus something else. I mean, like, if you can see X-God in your mind sending 2 Brutes against that canopy, it just won't move anymore, it won't attack, it will be hard countered. And if we get a long Wave 4, that... or at least maybe not 2 Brutes, but at least a Brute and something else will be on the table for Green Spirit to hold.
And by the way, X-God, he answered our question. He did go unpunished there on Wave 3. He full held. It was only a Dragon Turtle, but he was able to hold. And now he's on 7 workers. He's in a really solid position. Again, the most income in the game. Is he just going to run away with this game like he did the previous?
I think this game is very much closer than the last one because... I mean, even though he pushed away last game, he's now not ahead of the pack anymore. I mean, actually, we can see Green Spirit even pushing up 8 workers. Whereas last game, everyone was so far behind X-God that it really worked out. But this game, even though X-God really pushed hard early, he's still getting matched. So it's not the feeling of him running away with it yet.
But how's Green Spirit going to hold here? Like, it's only an income send coming from X-God. But he's just so weak on this wave.
Yeah, I think he can't hold here. I actually, especially with this positioning, I mean, the Devilfish will just tank the boss and get shredded.
Yeah. So let's have a look. He didn't even add a split there. He did have 29 gold left over. I mean, he's going to kill the boss at least, but I just don't think he's going to kill very much else.
Yeah, it's actually a big problem. I mean, he can clear as long as he doesn't focus the Fiend, which can happen. But there's no way he holds at all. Like, he's going to leak a Fiend, and small. Yeah, it's not even a small leak.
There, yeah, that's a big leak for a Fiend.
It's not even Brute.
He's 8 workers, and is anybody else leaking? It looks like we have a small leak on the side of Gara, but sorry, X-God, but X-God's 9 workers.
And he even received 80. He just sent 60, but he received 80, and he's now up on 9 workers, so he's ahead of everyone else right now. So. Yeah, actually, whereas Green Spirit pushed up last wave and really looked to match X-God's greedy push, now Green Spirit got punished for it with leaking more than 60%, and X-God really didn't get punished because leaking 37%, I think it was, to an 80 cent is okay as long as you clear the creeps, the cents. So actually, I do think you take this as a pro league.
Yeah. So, okay, well, Green Spirit at least is matching the 9 worker push there. But he still needs to be able to hold this resend, and that's not guaranteed. There is a dino coming out. Does X-God have the snail as well? I'm not sure. Okay, he fully boosts. So the Infiltrator's magic damage is going to do some work against the Dino. That's nice for him. That might just be enough for him to hold, honestly.
Yeah, and actually, with the Devilfish initially tanking the wave, if the Infiltrator then reaches it after using its shurikens, which are ranged, he might actually have a chance to split the aggro between the Canopy and the Infiltrator if he is lucky. And it looks like no, he doesn't. The Canopy will just tank the entire wave, and that actually that's a big problem for him. I don't think he can hold this here.
If that Canopy dies, it's all over for him, and it's gone. Yeah. So he might kill one more if he's lucky, but I don't even think he does. That's a 67% leak there for Green Spirit. Necropain is able to hold.
That really is the moment, and actually Necropain is not holding either. He's probably no, actually he is, but he's, or is he? I can't tell. It's too close. But even if he's holding, which it actually seems to be since the Morocco is not critting.
But he's not going to hold anything in the mid, though.
Yeah, it's just dying from looking at the wave that's incoming. It will dish out one attack and then it's dead.
Yeah. This game, it just seems to be slipping out of control now for NECA Spirit. Because they needed to get a better hold than that there. Like 67% it's fine for him to pro leak there, but 4 creeps when he had good units and decent value.
And he boosted 4 gold, and he already leaked the prior wave, so
yeah.
it doesn't look pretty for Green Spirit. Green Spirit tried to match the greedy approach that XGod brought to the table, or again in this game, but he got punished for it severely.
But now here comes the counter send. So Necropain going with the double brute, I assume he'll add a lizard to go with that, and Green Spirit, he goes for the double lizard, double snail send as well. So let's see, they need to get some damage done here. They need to get something to make up for the fact that they've been leaking and taking king damage themselves. So the brutes here on top of XGod's Necromartyr, they are cleaning it pretty quickly. That's nice to see.
But really, there still is a Harbinger, and it's actually snapping out a brute, so he might be better off than expected. I mean, he's not good, but actually in that leak just is not
a pretty big leak on XGod. And meanwhile, Gara is leaking to the income send from Green Spirit as well. So this is pretty good for NECA Spirit. They needed this to happen. They are going to get a nice chunk of damage in. But now the ball is back in the court of XGod and Gara, because look at their Mythium that they have saved up. It's their
that's what I wanted
to
add. Is this leak really enough to make up for what happened prior to this and what will happen to this wave?
I mean, it's a lot of damage, and it's a lot of gold going back over to Green Spirit and Necropain.
I mean, for sure it is, but they're facing a 200 Mythium sent by Gara, which he can deploy at any moment, whenever he chooses. And we're not even wave 8 yet. He can actually send a Ghost Knight on wave 8 post-income. That's crazy, and I think actually they will look to be going 9 instead than going here.
I think they'll go 9, yeah, for sure. For sure they'll go 9. Now, Necropain, he does get his Doppelganger here, which is amazing on 8, but obviously less good on 9, especially because he doesn't have any lifesteal to go with it.
But on which side would you rather be? On the side of Necropain, who has a Doppelganger and 8 workers on this wave and just send for income? Or on the side of Gara and XGod, where Gara is on 13 workers, receiving an income send, most likely holding it as well, and still sitting there with 275 Mythium. So that's a huge send if you choose to deploy it.
I mean, it's a tough one to call, because Green Spirit and Necropain, they have very high value, but the send is just enormous. So Gara, he gets that 4 eyes out already. He still has a bunch of Mythium left over as well. He will hold this, which I think is actually good for Green Spirit and Necropain, because if this wave goes any longer, it's just more time for XGod and Gara to save.
Yeah, let me correct you there. Since there was a 4th... No, he doesn't. You just saw 3 Cobras, but the 4th one was stuck under them.
This
and
is
really is a
good for XGod and Gara. Another 10-20 seconds worth of Mythium generation when they're going for their killer send. So, Necropain and Green Spirit, how do they hold here on wave 9?
I mean, Necropain might have a chance. I don't think he has, but might have one with his value. But look at Green Spirit's value. Green Spirit isn't even that high on value.
Neckarpain's on 13-15. He has a hardened golem, which is pretty good. He should probably boost here as well.
I agree, but he can't afford. He can just just afford to boost one of the infiltrators. But
now,
we can see actually Green Spirit is
boosting his
boosting,
orchids, and I don't think the Four Eyes is perfect against Green Spirit because he does have that canopy to tank it. But let's see. I mean, the sends are enormous. 300 on green, 380 on Neckarpain. I mean, they need to be able to hold here because if they don't, the game ends.
And for now, it's actually looking quite dire for Neckarpain. But on the other hand, what do you expect if you get a almost 400 send on wave 9? I mean, that's unheard of, actually.
Yeah, he's getting overrun. That is a 92% leak there. And Green Spirit, he also leaks 58. I think the game just ends here. There's 2 full HP Four Eyes reaching the king.
I mean, we could see Green Spirit actually upgrading the king prior to this wave, but that won't be enough, most likely. I mean, they're at 80%, have some king upgrades in their damage, but that's almost a full wave coming there from the players combined, and 2 Four Eyes. 2 Four Eyes alone might be enough to shred the king.
I think it is. Like, look how much damage that Four Eyes is doing. It's ramped up so much. Or do they survive? One more spell?
Yeah, actually they do survive, but it was very close.
Okay, 8%. But again, this is how they were. You know, we were talking on wave 11 in the previous game, like they survived. But the economic situation is just so far in the favour of XGod and Gara. They have 15 workers each versus the 10 of Green and Necker Spirit. It's so hard for them to come back from this. Like, Green Spirit and Neckarpain, they need to climb a mountain here to get back into this game.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even have the advantage of having more Mythium saved up. They're actually lower on the Mythium count as well, and on the worker count.
Yeah.
And basically lower on everything if you look for at Neckarpain, just besides his value, but that will just diminish since he won't get as much income as everyone else does. So I think actually the only saving grace I can see for them is a crazy 3-wave Predator to maybe hold everything that comes in between and to start a comeback from there. But for now, it's looking dire for them.
Yeah, it's looking really rough. It's looking really rough. XGod and Gara, they've just brought something special to this tournament, I feel like.
Yeah, at least for today. I mean, that for sure. I mean, yesterday they just lost one game. But for today, that looks like not even solid. That looks scary if you're another team.
Absolutely, yes. These guys are just playing out their minds right now.
And we can see 2 vampires picked up, one by Gara, one by Neckarpain. XGod and Green Spirit, the 2 pros in this matchup, do decide to still wait. Green Spirit actually going for the Predator, which is very greedy looking at his build. I mean, he's got a canopy, so much of his value, 300 of his, that's an eighth of his value is just, sixth of his value is just stuck in a useless unit for the next 2 waves.
And meanwhile, XGod and Gara, they're not under any pressure to send.
No, they totally aren't. I mean, they might want to look to prohibit, for example, greedy Predator play as Green Spirit is doing it now, but they don't have to. I mean, they can just wait and wait and wait with their 15 workers putting in the extra hour.
And Green Spirit, he's not making the most use out of Predator. Like, he only shifted 80 or so gold on wave 11. He couldn't afford to do more. And let's see if he dares to shift the full 170 here on wave 12. I think he might.
I mean, he has to, doesn't he? I mean, that's one of the ways he can come back if he just generates additional money and holds and survives. But
yeah,
also with their send coming out here, it's, I don't know whether it'd be enough. I mean, that send, unless it really severely breaks XGod and Gara, it just feeds them even more and gives them more time and more value and more gold to push up workers.
Now, we do see a pretty big send coming out from Green Spirit and Neckarpain. There's 220 and 240. XGod and Gara, they are both on shutdown, so again, there would be a decent chunk of gold if they can get the leaks here. But meanwhile, they have nearly 400 Mythium each, so even if they do leak, if it's not massive, if they don't get a chunk of king damage done here, I just don't think it's worth.
And I think we're actually looking at Gara holding here.
Gara is holding, yeah, comfortably. His Starcaller's going to be near enough full HP. And meanwhile, XGod, XCOD is holding
He's
as
also
well.
holding.
XCOD holding as well. This game is just over. XCOD
Yeah,
and
it
Gara,
looks like
they're
a done
so
deal.
far in the lead now. Look at this. They're under no pressure whatsoever. They have double the worker count of Green Spirit and Necker Pain, and they're just absolutely flying away with this game right now.
Yeah, I do have to. Whereas earlier one could see a miracle happening, that there is no way there are no miracles in this world, at least as long as XCOD and Gara have a say in it. And now they're not just doubling the worker count of Green Spirit and Necker Pain, they're actually topping the double. I mean, it's 21 and 23 workers. One player on the team of XCOD and Gara has more workers than the entire opposing team.
Yep. And when
So,
do
Penny,
they
what do you
decide
think?
to send? Are they just
Yeah.
going to go like straight 15? I think they can afford to.
I mean, I do actually think they will, because the Doppelganger just shreds through the wave here and will lifesteal on 14.
Oh, they
and
go
will
for a 14
lifesteal-
cent. They do go for a 14 cent, okay. So Necker
Okay, they
Pain.
call me a liar.
Necker Pain, can you pull something special out of the bag here with your lifesteal Doppelganger? You're going to need to. Because they cannot afford any kind of leak here with 8% left on their king.
I mean, we can see Green Spirit and Necker Pain like topping their value. The value that they will have for this wave is more than it is recommended for wave 15 if you don't get a send.
Yeah.
So that's kind of ridiculous. So they're very high on value, but is your value enough to hold a 500 send?
But I think they're expecting the 15 as well, because there's no harden here from Necker Pain. And these sends are just enormous. Absolutely enormous. There's double 4 eyes and pack leader coming from both XCOD and Gara. Like Green Spirit and Necker Pain, they need to pull something special here.
And then even if they should hold here, which I honestly don't see, even if they were to hold, they're still so far behind that I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, this is just an insane send here. 660 Mythium each on wave 14. I think we're just about to see the end of the series.
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, we can see that
Necker
Green Spirit
Pain.
actually does very well here with his Ocean Templar and sniping out the pack leader. But remember, it's not just his lane. There's also a huge league on Necker Pain, and
Yeah.
that's just over.
So nice sportsmanship there from Green Spirit. Good luck next. You love to see it. But this game is over, so really well played. Atomic Pyro, XCOD 37 and Gara 69. They just steamrolled this series. They played insanely well. That's not to take anything away from Green and Necker Pain. But XCOD and Gara, they just seem to be on another level today.
Yeah, I mean, they took no prisoners in this game, and not in this game, not in this series. They rolled over what their opponents brought, and that really is off of a strong early game and an insane push by XCOD in game 1, and off of a very nice call for wave 9 in this game, and that really, like, they chipped away at their opponents' health early on, and they just come out way ahead when we're coming to the Legion spells on wave 10, 11. So at that point, we can in both games see who's most likely gonna win, and I do wonder whether that strong early game that carried them through both of the games will get challenged in the next series, which is actually our final.
Yeah, this is insane. Like they just, that send on wave 9 was absolutely crushing. The 4 eyes, 380 Mythium on 9 there from Gara, and he sent on 6. He only skipped 2 waves there to get that 380 Mythium out. That's insane play there from Mr. Gara. Really, really solid there. Kind of bringing victory to his team by being able to put that much pressure on top of Necker Pain. So really well played. Really, really well played by these guys. I think they've got a really good chance of going all the way and bringing home the first place.
Yeah, one really has to feel for Necker Pain, because Green Spirit had really a suboptimal start with his canopy that leaked 5 big times, leaked 6 big times, and it's not even Necker Pain's fault in this case. He just was the one who's unlucky that his teammate leaked, and that so much of the pressure that Green Spirit should have on Gara got relieved, and then Gara pushing insane amounts of workers, playing very well, and just sending a big send. And I personally do really feel bad for Necker Pain. Not to say that Green Spirit played it bad or anything, but Necker Pain was the one who got the bill for what his teammate at some point did.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think These guys, they play together really well, and it's been a joy to watch Green Spirit and Nekapane playing together during the Swiss yesterday. But I think that they just had their work cut out for them here. I think Xgod and Gara, they just have been playing fantastically well. We saw that they only lost one game in the Swiss yesterday, and it looks like they're carrying their form through into the finals bracket today. So let's see, Xgod and Gara, are they able to take the first place in the grand finals next? Or not, but yeah, commiserations to Green Spirit and Nekapane. I think they played very well. The fact that they made it to the finals day is just proof of how well they did play, so they have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of, and really well played to those guys. I hope they enjoyed their time in the tournament, and better luck next time, guys.
Yeah, but picking up on the topic of Gara and Xcode only losing one game in the Swiss system, the one game they lost was to the team that's actually in the second semifinal, which is Ganked by the Bananas. So they actually beat them yesterday. So I wonder if we can see this matchup again in the finals.
So I'm going to hop into the second semi-final now. It is underway already. We have Firebat and Ashton Butcher, that's Crash and Burn, versus Xmithy and Widdowson, that is Bananas in the Jungle. They are on wave 8 right now.
And it's actually the second game, Penny. It's the second game, and Crash and Burn, which is Ashton and Firebat, they did actually win the first game. So
okay.
If we can't see a reverse punch here from Xmithy and Widdowson and them winning this game, actually we're in for a very, very early final.
Well, Xmithy and Widdowson, they are in the lead, it looks like at the moment. They have the worker advantage, they have the king HP advantage, and they have just gained another leak here on wave 8, bringing the enemy king down to around 60% HP. So fans of a long series are pretty happy right now, because Xmithy and Widdowson, I think, are in the lead currently as we join this game at the start of wave 9.
They're ahead, I would agree, but there's one person that it scares me if I look at the stats here, and that's Ashton. He's on the highest income, on the highest workers, only matched by Widdowson, and we know Ashton's playstyle, and Ashton might just run away with the game.
Yeah.
If you can't shut him down early.
Xmithy, he gets his Kingpin out here on wave 9. Firebat, it looks like he's putting a bit of a starve onto Xmithy there.
And I can see why, because Ashton seems to be actually real income sending. I think he has turned on the auto send button, and the reason for that is a vampire spell with an insane Holy Avenger roll. He's got APS with his Holy Avenger. There's a vampire in play. You know what's gonna come from wave 11 onwards.
Yeah, if Ashton gets the chance to scale, he is just going to be unstoppable with that roll and the vampire spell.
Yes, and Firebat picking up, like placing down a Kingpin early and a second Kingpin now, he really looks to solidify the early game hold that Firebat and Ashton up. So they don't even have to like come out ahead in the early game, they just have to match it, they just have to survive, because we know from wave 12 not so much maybe, but from that onwards there's a Holy Avenger that gets upgraded into a Sovereign with Vampire, with an APS. That thing will shred waves alone.
Absolutely, dude, absolutely. So we have got a decent send now coming out from Xmithy, but that's a mold into Ashton's lineup, which includes a Millennium and now an Avenger. So okay, he didn't know about the Avenger, to be fair.
Yeah, but I think we didn't see the entire gameplay out, but I think that Ashton might have actually been hard sending. So you do really wonder why is he sending so much, and so that Sovereign or that Holy Avenger might not come as a surprise for them now.
Yeah. And now Ashton's just going to be able to snowball crazy hard because he has his Avenger up, he has presumably taking the Vampire spell here.
And with Ashton looking to take the Vampire, I do actually think we can see Firebat. Oh no, he picked up the hero, and Ashton as well. Ashton not opting for a Vampire with his Holy Avenger there, but rather for a
hero.
Hero, yeah.
Hero. That's really surprising to me that Ashton takes hero here instead of Vampire. I think the Sovereign with lifesteal is just a completely different beast to when he doesn't have it. I mean, sure, hero's nice, like. It would have been a fine option if Vampire wasn't available, but if this is me, I'm always taking Vampire with this role.
I really wonder what the thought process behind it was, but we don't know. Maybe he started redraw. Maybe he's looking to redraw into a Grawl for an Ocean Templar or a Butcher.
Maybe. No, it's Ashton. He's never starting redraw. That gives less income.
Yeah, I know. I can totally understand that point as well. Actually, we saw Xmithy and Whitson both picked up Venture, and Xmithy with his two Kingpins here receiving Ascent at 180, which is
he's gonna leak.
Yeah, he's gonna leak.
Big, but he is gonna leak. Meanwhile, how is Widdowson doing? Is he able to hold here? That might be a small leak as well. So.
Yeah, I think Widdowson's leaking 2 or 3 creeps. Yeah, he's leaking 3 creeps, and that's actually, it's okay. I mean, Widdowson and Xmithy, they take some damage, but with their Venture, that small of a leak actually is okay for you, I think. Especially considering that at full King HP.
Yeah. And they can't get them again on 12 because Xmithy is going to be a god on 12 with his double Kingpin. Widdowson, I suppose there's chances to leak him 12, but let's see.
I don't think we will see a reset. I think that Ashton and Firebat will just...
Hey, it's Ashton. Mind. He's got his auto send on, dude.
No, I think he just needed to hit a certain amount. I don't think he actually plans to send full here.
Yeah.
And Ashton just now showing the hero. So for those of you who haven't noticed it, that's actually something very smart to do. Ashton, even though he picked hero, he didn't use it in wave 11, so his opponents didn't see it. So they were probably wondering, did he fake us with, we don't know, like whether he went hero or vampire, or did he actually take Venture? Because if they suspect that he took Venture, they might be very, very tempted to send Float, but they don't. They just hold their nerves and call out the bluff from Ashton, and that really pays off for Xmithy and Widdowson.
I wonder if they just have to go straight 15 now, because Xmithy and Widdowson, they're about to get that massive spike of Venture Gold, so they're completely safe now on wave 13 and 14 because of their rolls. So there's probably no way for Firebat and Ashton to leak them now before wave 15. But in the meantime, Xmithy and Widdowson, they have a decent chunk of Mythium saved up themselves. There's 320 already on Xmithy, nearly 300 on Widdowson. They don't send. Okay, so there's another income send here from Firebat and Ashton. Actually mixed, because that's imps there from Firebat.
Yeah, but, I mean, I do actually wonder, do they want to upgrade their king as well? To just go like for an income send and upgrade their king because they suspect that there will be something big to come? Yeah, we can see Ashton already starting to upgrade. I think that's the right choice there. I mean, they're at 60%. They're not receiving a send here, most likely. So if you're going to go for an income send here, I think you should also upgrade your king. But that being said, it just relieves pressure on Xmithy and Widdowson, who are sitting at 350 and 380 Mythium.
I think Widdowson's very weak on this roll, on this wave. Now this is 280 Mythium, right? And it's income and king upgrades. I think if Ashton full sent here, he's getting a massive leak on Widdowson.
Yeah, it's not just that Widdowson, like, his value might be higher than the one of Xmithy, but his units are really bad. I mean, there's an Aqua combination, there's a Trinity Archer, there were small boars. That does not tend to hold here if you send him a real send.
I mean, he's nearly leaking just to the income and king upgrades. So there's no way that Widdowson holds there versus a full send of 280 Mythium. And meanwhile, Xmithy, I think he actually is leaking? Oh no, he still has the lifesteal on the Kingpin, never mind.
And I mean, that's just great for Xmithy and Widdowson, gotta say.
Yeah.
They're wasting time while they're sitting at 19 workers each and almost 500 Mythium on Xmithy, and that spells doom for Firebat and Ashton whenever Widdowson and Xmithy choose to pull the trigger, and I think that will be on wave 15.
So they're forced to income and king upgrade again here. Ashton, what does he build? He goes for another Millennium. I wonder if Xmithy and Widdowson even go 16 when they see the double Doomsday on the table.
I mean, I actually can't think so, because if they don't send 15, then Firebat and Ashton will have racked up at least some Mythium, and that Mythium could be potentially dangerous to Xmithy and Widdowson, since they saved so long and they're lacking really some juicy amounts of income there.
That's true, that's true.
So I think we're looking at 15 cents. But I could be wrong. I can totally see the point of going 16. But on the other hand, I don't think 16 is enough to kill your opponent, and they're really going for a killing blow.
Yeah, they need a kill. They need like a one-hit kill, really. So Xmithy and Widdowson, they have an insane amount of Mythium in the bank. There's over 600 on Xmithy. There's nearly 600 on Widdowson as well. And Firebat and Ashton, they're just kind of treading water. They're panicking. They're income sending. They're king upgrading every wave. They know that the send is coming. They're just not quite sure when it comes. We can see it's coming here on wave 15. Do you think Firebat and Ashton, have they got a chance to hold here?
I don't know, but I think that especially Ashton will have seen this send coming. I mean, as we alluded to earlier, wave 16 doesn't deal as much damage to the king just because it gets shredded by the spell. And since they're at 67% now, they probably will expect the send here and not next wave, so they really can prepare for it.
Yeah.
But Ashton's build, even though he's on nice value, that value is nice if you're getting a send, a small send, a 100 cent or 200 cent, but what's
He's
coming
receiving
is
a Kraken.
yeah, it's 700 plus or almost 700.
Yeah, 660 here, 700 here, and his Orchid Shuriken, so he spends 40 gold to boost those. They're all just firing into the Kraken. So he's not getting that powerful magic damage burst onto the wave, which he kind of needed to happen here. Xmithy, meanwhile, how is he doing? He is on the boss. Can he at least kill the giant quadrupus? I don't think he can. I think this leak is insane. Firebat, sorry, yes. Firebat leaking 135% there. And meanwhile, Ashton Butcher, he is doing a little better, killing everything apart from the boss and the Four Eyes. That's only a 63% leak on Ashton. But this is 9 creeps, including 1 full HP boss, 1 half HP, a Shaman, 2 Four Eyes. Can they survive here, or is this just game?
I mean, at least they're on 80% King HP and a max King, but actually I think that's just too much.
I mean, look at that, just King HP being absolutely wrecked here. This is just game. Yeah. Bananas in the jungle, they take this. So we are on a 1-1. We do get our dream come true. We get to see a 3-game series.
And that was really impressive, honestly, because when we tuned in, even though Widdowson and Xmithy looked to be in the lead, we saw it kind of slipping away from them because we could see the late game rolls of Ashton and but yeah, they took it back. They brought it back with a nice venture. They totally got unpunished. They went, or they thought totally, but they went unpunished for the most part of it. I mean, leaking 20 and 50% on wave 11, if you're venturing, it's quite okay. And they just took it and they waited and waited patiently. And then on wave 15, they sent their crushing blow and just obliterated the defense of Ashton and Firebat.
It was just a one-hit knockout there on wave 15, so really impressive play from Xmithy and Widdowson. Well played to those guys. I'm really excited to see the 3rd game now, and I'm kind of pleased that we do get this on the main cast, that we can see the 3rd and final game of the semi-finals before we move on to the grand finals. This is going to be one to watch.
Yeah, I do totally agree. And I think, like, if there ever were stakes high, then the stakes are even higher now, you know? The series is tied up. We're not in a best of 3 anymore. That just is a best of 1, basically.
Let me take a quick look at the results. So we know that Atomic Pyro 1-2-0, they are into the grand final, and we know that Crash and Burn and Gank by Bananas are currently standing at 1-1, so everything to play for now in this 3rd game in the series.
Yeah, and it's not just the 3rd game, it's the last game. Whoever wins this goes to the final.
And there's no lobby open at the moment, so I think I'm just going to create it and get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think everyone's waiting for us again, or they're just too shy to like start it.
Yeah, it must be shyness.
Yeah. I can provide an invite here, invite here. Yeah. So, who do you think is going to take it? I mean, we just saw actually a very nice win by Widdowson and Xmithy. They played it very well, utilizing the venture and winning off of that. But we also know that Ashton and Firebat won the 1st game. So, who do you think is going to take it?
I don't know. Wait, are they saying they're out? I thought this.
Wait, what? Excuse me? Wait, what? Oh, never mind. I was wrong. Wait.
So I guess it must have
Woodson.
already been 1-1.
The last.
What's happening? Why is nobody telling me the scores?
Oh, actually, yeah. Actually, the win that was posted in the results lobby was from yesterday. It was from the Swiss stage. So it seems that they might actually be out. I think that we got provided wrong information here. Seems to be the case that actually Winston and Xfinity just took it.
All right, so it is a 2-0 for Ganked by Bananas. So we do have the grand final match up.
Yeah, obviously we do. I mean,
Okay, interesting. So we were, unfortunately, apologies to that Twitch chat because we were working under false information there. It was not 1-0 to Crash and Burn. It was already 1-0 to Bananas in the Jungle. They did take their semi-final 2-0, and now we have a grand final matchup between Atomic Pyro and Ganked by Bananas. So I guess I'll invite the other players in that case.
oh yeah, that's yeah. There's not much to say about it. They obviously just won it, and that comes off a very nice game two win. We didn't see game one, and that's a very early final. So let's hope this best of five now goes to distance. To introduce the people for the next game, which is a final, we have XGod, who we saw in the first series today, playing with Gara. Gara, a former Hearthstone pro, if I'm correctly, who
Yep.
grinded Legion a lot this season. He played very much. I mean, even before this cup was announced, he started grinding and he played himself up in to above 2k elo, above 2k 2.2k elo. So yeah, and he's matched up with XGod, who we saw display an incredible performance, especially in game one. And they're playing against Widdowson and Xsmithy. Xsmithy, a former League of Legends pro player, and yeah, and Widdowson, who actually won, I think it was a Masters Cup and a Leal, like a Legion in-house league as well, or was it just the in-house league? I'm not so sure on that, but he's also like a very accomplished player, good on the ladder. So that's also a very interesting team, and yeah,
Alright, it looks like XCOD and Gara are away currently, so maybe we should give a little break.
yeah, I think we'll just get a little break and sort things out and just be back then. I think a break is quite good, especially to get the people hyped for the final.
Alright, guys in Twitch chat, I think we will take this opportunity to call a 10-minute break, and the grand finals will be here very shortly, so don't go anywhere, and we will see you right around the corner. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are about ready to get back into this grand finals match between Atomic Pyro and Ganked by Bananas. That is, of course, Gara69 and XGod37 making up Atomic Pyro, and Widdowson and XMiffy making up Ganked by Bananas. They've both had an extremely impressive performance so far this tournament, losing only one game apiece, I think, in the group stage, and now both of them winning their semi-finals 2-0. So I think these two titans are about to face off, and I think we've got a really exciting grand finals ahead of us.
Actually, let me correct you on that one. Wilson and Smithy came in today as the third seed, not as the second seed, because they lost 2 games on the first day, whereas Gar and Xcode just lost 1. But yeah, besides that, they were really close. I mean, they dropped 2 games, and we know that Wilson and Smithy were the only ones taking a game off of Gara and XGod. So yeah. And it looks like we're just waiting for the tournament organizers to create our bracket so we know who can actually choose first. Do you think there is a special advantage of sending into someone or receiving someone from someone in specific, or do you think it doesn't matter as much in this matchup?
It seems to be that when the pros have the choice, they want to send into the influencer on the other team. So I think they assume they can get away with income sending more heavily against the influencer. So they seem to prefer that lineup rather than the other way around.
Yeah, I do agree, but the question is, can you really say that Xmithy and Gara play to the standards of what you expect the level of an influencer, or are they more of actually not that bad, and not that bad is an understatement, that they're actually quite well and quite versatile in handling that and coming out ahead?
I mean, they're certainly playing extremely well. They wouldn't be out of place in one of the kind of grandmaster level tournaments. They're playing very, very well. I think their respective pros have trained them extremely well. I know XCOD and Gara practiced together a lot in the run up to the tournament. I assume Widdowson and XMiffy got some practice in as well, though that must have been off stream. But yeah, it's really paid off because these guys are playing well ahead of their ELO brackets.
I do agree. So yeah.
It looks like there's just a little bit of confusion going around with send order. But we should be able to get into the game pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, we need to actually get a. I think the call's up to us because no one's from tournament organizing side is answering anything. So Penny, I think you have the final say.
Yeah, I'm saying
I mean, at least in the best of 3 semifinals, the higher seed had the first pick, but I'm not entirely sure into how that is handled for the final. So we still have to break up a little bit of confusion here. And then we're ready to go, I think.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, XCOD doesn't seem willing to concede the point here.
I mean, I gotta admit that I think that the higher team is the one choosing, but I'm not entirely sure.
Let me see what Shadow Wings has to say.
There's no great day of Legion without checking the rules. I don't see it being clarified in the rules, honestly. Then play we could take the free win as well.
All right. Are our French casters ready? They are. Okay, guys, we apologise for the delay. It looks like there's a flood of bots in the Twitch stream as well, which I can't do anything about right now. We are about to get into this grand final match. So, good luck to the teams. Good luck to the casters. It looks like we might need it.
Okay, with all this confusion, we're going live into our first game of our best of 5 final now. Penny, from what we've seen so far, do you think there's a favorite here, or do you think it's all up for grabs?
I mean, I've seen more of Gara and X-God's games, and from what I've seen, they're an extremely impressive team. We only caught half of one of Widdowson and X-Smithy's games, so I haven't quite been able to get as much of a handle on how well they're playing, but obviously they're playing very well because they've managed to get this far into the grand finals. All I'm hoping for is that we get a really nice close series. I don't want to see a 3-0 either way. I'd much rather see a 3-2. I'd love this to go the full 5 games, but let's see. I mean, we're here now in the first game of the grand finals. We've got Atomic Pyro on the left. We've got Gank by Bananas on the right. Let's get into it. What do you think about the spell, Crazy?
I think we can see a Sorcerer, which is a very unique spell, actually. Which amplifies the damage or the magic damage output of one of your units. We have a Hero, which is a great utility spell. It gives you a bit of tank value and a bit of damage, and it especially pairs up well with being on, for example, a white main or any aura. And we have Investment as well, which gives you plain up income going forward into the game. But I do really think that Investment might get outmatched here with such a good spell of being like Hero being available here. And we can see every player picking Reed here. No one's taking any prisoners. No one wants regrets and wants to redraw. They're all in for the Greed gaming.
Hold on, I have children yelling outside the door, so let me close that and keep things a little bit quieter. And we have the game beginning. Slow openers there from both Gara and X-God. The 190 gold means they won't be able to push that 5th until after Wave 2 has started. Meanwhile, X-Smithy and Widdowson both will be able to go up to 5 workers right now, should they so choose.
Yeah, and actually, we can see that X-Smithy and Widdowson not choosing to send an Ink upgrade on the first wave, so they actually might be looking to either sending a Snail here, which we can see from X-Smithy if they need the gold. Yeah, they both do need the gold, but it did want to put an additional point of pressure onto X-God and Gara.
This will be a free hold there for Gara and X-God, so X-Smithy and Widdowson probably wishing they just done the King Ups on 1 instead. But you can't know that, right? You can never know that.
Obviously, you can't, and we can see, yeah, we can see what's being pinged by the other casters, and that's true. There's no need for a fist additional to Yozora, and we can see that Xcode actually really fears receiving a Dragon Turtle here, since he put down 3 tier 1s.
Yeah. And he's only receiving a snail and king up, so they were completely unnecessary. And I think that's fine. That, you know, it's caused Xgod to overbuild there. So the fact that they didn't king up on 1, it has done a little bit of damage there to Xgod's build, because he certainly didn't want to have 3 rats on the board on wave 2.
I mean, he's getting 6 gold from killing the snail, which otherwise he wouldn't have gotten, but he's paying 30 for 3 little creeps, which he can only sell for 6 gold each.
Yeah.
So if he chooses to not integrate those rats into his further build, that's actually a win on the economical side for Xmithy and Winston.
Yeah. Now, Gara, he's 6 workers off the back of that, and so is Xgod. So actually, a decent worker lead. Like the gap between 6 and 5 doesn't sound massive, but it is 20% more Mythium that they're generating every second on the side of Gara and Xgod. So you can't underestimate those early minor advantages snowballing into a much bigger advantage as the game continues.
And actually, with Gara receiving another 20 here, we could even see him pushing up to 7 workers here, and that's quite a lot more than Xmithy and Widdison have to offer right now.
Yep. Gara might even be able to go up to 7 workers off this snail here.
Yeah,
he doesn't.
Yeah,
okay. He's deciding to stay on 6, which is fair.
It's fair, especially considering that he's kind of lacking damage at the moment. And that huge wave 5 is coming up, and wave 5 is not as easy to hold with a Yozora, especially if you overpush.
Yep. Now we have got a pretty decent Mythium advantage on the side of Gara and Xgod. They have 85 on Xgod, 65 on Gara. When do you think they want to send? Are they going to go for a big wave 5 send?
No, I really don't think that Xgod's safe that long just to send on wave 5 into
Do you think he's going to go straight 7?
Yeah, and no, actually, I think he's looking at a 6 against the Bounty Hunter. Because if he just sends Lizards, I mean, it sounds kind of silly since they're 40 Mythium each, but they would shred through the Seraphim and the Devilfish.
Yeah.
And the Bounty Hunter might get, like, deleted, but actually they could also be looking at a big wave 7 send.
No, okay. They go for an income send on 5.
But I don't think Xcode wants to do that. I mean, he saved up 120 Mythium. But actually he does. No, it's not an income send. He's imping.
But the imps are very strong on wave 5, we know this. The thing is that Seraphim is also extremely strong on wave 5. Like the magic, very high single target magic DPS this early in the game. I think the Seraphim might just be able to kill the boss quickly enough that Widdison won't leak too badly here. He's got 142 gold remaining. Is he going to go for a Wanderer, or does he even go for more DPS with another Seraphim? What do you think?
I think that actually... Is he shifting? No, he's going for the Wanderer as expected. But I do kind of wonder why this Devilfish did not get transformed into a Seraphim, just since the left side Seraphim would just get sniped. So there actually is not enough damage for him, I think, to properly clear the wave.
Yeah. Will this be a leak here on Xgod, though? There was a Brute sent against the Priestess of the Abyss, which is, as we know, one of the strongest units on wave 5. It looks like he might just do fine, possibly leaking a Brute +1. Yeah, Brute +1. Meanwhile, Xmithy 42%. Widdison, though, we wondered whether he was going to leak at all. He actually leaks 57% there versus the Imp Snail. So
I mean, he doesn't have any damage.
This is going to be a lot of king damage. A lot of king damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 full life imps there and a lot of little creeps, but I mean, he had a Devilfish on his tank side, which tanked the initial wave, and the Seraphim on his split side actually also tanked a bit of the wave and just died off, so he had no damage left, and that causes them to take almost 50% damage now.
Alright, that is insane. So King down to 54%, it's wave 5, Gara and Xgod, they're just carrying on with that aggression that we love to watch during the groups and during the semi-final. They're 8 workers apiece, they're really hammering home the damage against Xmithy and Widdison, already down to 54% King HP. Already on the back foot, so Xmithy and Widdison, they're going to need to pull something out of the bag just to get back to level heading here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the worker count, Gara and Exgod are both on 8 workers, which is higher than Xmithy and Widdison. Not only do they have more workers, they also have more Mythium stored, so the advantage seems to be well in the on the side of Gara and Exgod. We can see Sense coming out here from Gara. There's a Brood. I assume there will be a second one added. And yeah, and there's Exgod also sending Broods.
Yeah,
and if we're looking
on 7.
if we're looking at Winston there,
no send here.
Yeah, I do think.
No, he's actually still 4 HP. He's going to be fine. But that was looking a bit hairy for a second there.
I mean, he's slow clearing, which is actually rather good for Gara and Exgod, I think.
Yeah.
So they can just send 140 instead of just 120. I mean, it's just a snail, but I mean, you take it. But actually,
Widdison
do also get pressure.
Is send. They're not small either. So Widdison has the imps going out. He actually shifted here as well, so he's got 290 gold. Does he just take his Kingpin here with 66 mana? What do we think?
I think he has to. I do think he has to.
I think he has to.
I don't see any other option for him to really hold it, but he's choosing to place a Fire Lord.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, it's very good against Brutes. A lot's going to come down to how well it split tanks here, and it looks like pretty well is the answer. So it's on low mana, but it's not getting overwhelmed. This might just be perfect positioning there from Mr. Widdison.
Yeah, but his Fire Lord is going to even survive longer than the Bounty Hunter, and I do wonder whether he still has enough damage to clear the wave.
So one Brute is down. That's really solid positioning. I don't know if it's enough for him to full clear, because now it dies. Xmithy 76% meanwhile. We have a full hold on both Gara and Exgod. And Widdison, he is leaking. That's a 47. They have 55% King HP. There's 3 Brutes reaching the King. I don't know that they survive here.
I mean, I do assume so, since one of the Brutes already damaged, but they're getting lower and lower, and they're not only losing King HP, but also they're falling further and further behind.
Wow, look at this. Are they going to die?
No,
they're below 10.
Actually, no, it's gonna be super close.
Alive. This is so close.
No, they're
2%. They're 2%. Oh, they live. They live.
Oh, they even dipped down. They even dipped down to 1% for a second with the last effect of the little blob.
Yeah.
But to put it into perspective, it's not 2%. It's not 1%. It's less than 100 HP on the King.
Wow, that is insane. At least they got that 1 point of regen, because they're gonna need it.
Not only that, I mean, without that point of regen, they probably would be dead now. I mean, they for sure would be dead.
They would.
So,
Exgod and Gara both on a 25 gold shutdown. It's wave 8. They are so far ahead in this game.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean,
I guess they don't need to complain about sending order after all, because they are crushing this game.
I mean, as nice as it is for Xmithy and Widdison to still stay alive, I mean, they might be alive, but does it really change anything? Do we really think they can come back from such big of a difference in gold and workers and King HP?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a really hard mountain for them to climb. Like, Widdison, he needs to take that Kingpin pretty soon, because if he doesn't have it when the next gen comes, the game will end.
And I think we'll be seeing, I mean, since there's no sense coming out now, I think we could see Gara and Exgod sending post-income to just end it, but they might as well also go for wave 10, since the Fire Lord is actually really not good there, because you can't get it to split tank, because it would just tank either the boss or nothing.
Yeah.
And they're already preparing for wave 10, so they see what's coming, but can they even avoid the problems that arise on wave 10, even if they're preparing now? I mean, there's 200 Mythium on Exgod and almost 200 on Gara.
Oh, Widdison actually not going for his Kingpin here on 9, so he did have the balls to go one more wave. The game would have ended here for sure if there was a send from Exgod.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, it's just 3%. That can happen. You can die to that very easily.
The leak only needs to be very, very small for it to be lethal at this stage. And here comes the send. Okay, it's wave 10. They both have halos. Here comes the Ogre. What does X-God send? He goes for a 4 Eyes. I mean, that's interesting. It's a lot of damage, but it's not going to keep the Kingpin off the boss. It's not going to keep the Halo off the boss.
But actually, I mean, the 4 Eyes might become somewhat of a small mini boss there, because let's remember they're on 3% HP. If that 4 Eyes goes with more than half HP to the boss, to the king, the boss doesn't have to be alive. They would just still die.
Widdowson and Xmithy, they do go for their income sends here, desperate to survive, but they just have so much less workers than their enemy, and the send coming out now from Gara and X-God, I mean, it's massive. There's 240, 280 on Widdowson. He does have the Kingpin, but that Phylor just dies instantly, absolutely instantly, under the pressure of the 4 Eyes and the boss combined. This is what I mean though, so because there's no tanks, the Kingpin and the Halo, they are able to take down the boss. Can he even hold this? Xmithy leaks 55%. His boss is quite low as well. Can this Halo kill the 4 Eyes? This is going to be crucial.
I mean, it can't. I mean, it can kill it, but it's also dead.
It's dead. This is game. This is game.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's no way that the king can kill that ogre.
Yeah, there's. So in the end, it didn't even matter whether the 4 Eyes survives or not, because the ogre will just finish the job on its own.
Yeah. Wow, wave 10 victory there. Impressive stuff from Atomic Pyro. They're really not taking any prisoners today.
Yeah, and I agree, and that sets the stage for the next game. I mean, Gara and X-God pulling ahead, the first seed from the first day of the tournament, proving why they got that first seed, and kind of avenging their loss against Xfinity and Widdowson on the first day. And I mean, now they're 1-0 up against them, and they just need 2 more to take home the prize of $500 together as a team.
Yeah. Alright, so I guess it's time for us to just go straight into the second lobby and get the next game underway. That game was over so quickly, I don't think we need to analyse it even. There was the massive leak on 7, followed by the killing blow on 10. Really impressive play from Atomic Pyro.
Yeah, one really has to wonder, because that was actually really close. I mean, the ogre was almost dead, so with just 5% more king HP, they would have survived. But on the other hand, surviving there wouldn't have mattered, because they were so far behind anyways. Yep. Their life was like they hung on by a thread, and that thread just got snipped.
Alright, let's get some more players into this lobby. Who are we missing? So we've got everyone here. We just need Xmithy to take his seat on the bench instead of on the casters panel.
Yeah, I mean, I think he chose to substitute himself and would rather let Shadowwings play. I assume. No, I'm just joking. So I think everyone's ready. No one's requested a break. Yeah, players are ready. Send order has actually been changed up, I think. No, I don't think. No, they're not. X-God is sending into Xmithy again, and Gara, he was lane 2 last. No, Gara was lane 1. They changed up their position.
Widdowson sends to X-God this time, yeah.
Yeah, they changed it up.
All right, in that case, I am ready to go. So it looks like the players are ready, the French cast is ready. Then we will get straight into the second game. Let's keep this fast-paced action going.
And he's got to go somewhere. No, actually, even though the game's quite quick, and I love to see a thrilling game, it's not less thrilling here, really, because even though that there's a team distinctively winning, I mean, at least in the first game, it was actually very nicely played, and
for sure.
Actually also somewhat close. So I mean close, at least in the terms of one team almost surviving again. And I do wonder whether we will see this game going longer, or and whether the change up in positioning actually helps Widdowson and Xmithy handle this. And yeah, we'll see. Penny, why don't you run us down with the Legion spells?
Let me just adjust the scoreboard. Okay, so Legion spells we have Dark Ritual, which is the damage your king in return for 130 gold. We have Overwork, which is speed up your Mythium by 60% on wave 11, slow it down by 40% on wave 12. And we have Press the Attack, which is just a pretty standard injection of 70 Mythium. So there's two big aggressive spells there in the Overwork and the PTA, and there is one big defensive spell, though it comes with a pretty big downside of damaging your own king. That's the Dark Ritual.
And
So
actually,
a pretty
I want to point
decent counterplay, actually. You've got the two aggressive spells, you've got the one big defensive spell. They kind of cancel each other out in a way, other than the fact that Dark Ritual damages your king. So if you're already low, it can be super high value because it takes a percentage of current HP, not max HP. So if you're already kind of low king HP, it's pretty much a free 130 gold. But yeah, otherwise, if you're already 100%, it's quite expensive to take that spell.
I mean, you can't kill yourself with that spell. So, well...
No, you can't.
But what I want to point out is, we can see Gara next got going greed, and we can see that Widdis and next Smithy are just on 3 income, and I paid attention to it.
Yeah.
No, it's not a redraw. It's not a redraw. We saw Widdis lock in Bone Warriors, whereas X-Smithy locked in Gate. So, I wonder whether that's a studied tactic where X-Smithy actually chooses to maybe even leak 2 or be weak 2 and on wave 2 and have the opportunity to enable Widdis with his slow Bone Crusher start.
Now, Gara, he did receive a snail here, but he has 195 gold opener with the Disciple, so he should just be fine. Meanwhile, though, X-God, he did start with the greedy opener and didn't get the snail. So, honestly, that decision of which player sent the snail can have a massive impact on this game.
Yeah, it really can. I mean, that Windhawk, if it gets a snail, I mean, you can see it holding on 6 HP and it can even, I think, even with the perfect positioning. But
Widdison, though, 6 workers, he's going for a kill on 3. I think this is what their plan is. So this is a strategy that they've developed. They think it's, like, he's fine to leak here to a snail if it means that he can send a massive send on wave 3 against X-God.
But for now, we don't see the snail coming out from Gara, even though we saw it in the game yesterday where he did it, but today
so he's going to go unpunished? He's going to go completely unpunished?
Super good for Widdison.
And he'll be able to do a massive send against X-God. He's got that brute, and he will have a snail as well post-income if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, and that's quite huge. I mean, going unpunished with an opener like Bone Crusher, you can really pull ahead. You can really greed out some workers that you usually can't, just due to the nature of the unit having life regeneration and hanging on by a thread and just clearing every wave slowly. That just maximizes the output of your workers.
Yeah. He's even going to get a Dino before income. Before income Dino. That is nutty. Honestly nutty.
Yeah, and he's clearing slow enough that he might actually be able to send 100 next wave.
Though. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's specifically to counter the Tempest and the Windhawk there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not just 2 Dragon Turtles, it's 2 Dragon Turtles and there will be a snail as well.
Yeah, that's an enormous... 100 Mythium send on wave 3. How often do you see 100 Mythium on wave 3?
Especially with no leaks earlier. I mean, no one even leaked before that.
Yeah, this is pretty impressive stuff. So this was a nice little tactic that Widdison and X-Smithy took here. Starting with very slow openers, not sending on wave 1. Well, okay, Widdison didn't send on wave 1. He gets to do this massive 100 Mythium send here on wave 3 versus X-God. Let's just zoom in on X-God's lane and see the action, because this might decide how powerful this is. His entire left side is now down. The only thing remaining is an Oathbreaker, but it's going to die way too quickly under the pressure of the send there. 87% leak on X-God, and Gara, he's not covering. So sure, Widdison leaks 44%, but 24% on Gara. That's 17 creeps reaching the king on the Atomic Pyro side. And meanwhile, X-Smithy, he does cover his own lane, and he's going to be able to cover all of Widdison's leak in mid as well. So no king damage on that side. But look at this. Atomic Pyro, they're taking first blood here.
Yeah, and not just first blood, also they take off like a quarter of the king HP from team Atomic Pyro.
Nice.
I mean, that's a huge one, and Really, whereas Xcode like placed his Oathbreaker for last wave and hoping to enable it and like shred through the wave in the split and then help out his main side.
Yeah, this
The
is
fact
really
that his
impressive stuff.
Oathbreaker survived so long and got enabled so late and it just hit everything on the wave but killed nothing. And
Yeah.
that actually balloons Widdowson X Smithy to a comfortable lead that early on.
Yeah. Now, Widdowson and Xmithy, I really like to see this because they were not scared after what happened in Game 1. They've decided to go for a very risky, very aggressive opener, and it certainly seems to be paying off for them, at least at this stage. XGod was forced to stay on 5 workers. Because of that massive leak, he didn't get any gold, and he was scared of the resend here on wave 4, so he had to stay 5, meaning he's the lowest worker player in the game, and Widdowson's just keeping up that pressure on him.
Yeah, and I mean that pressure is quite good to have because we saw that what Xcode can do if you don't pressure him properly, and he ran away with some games earlier, and now he's just in kind of a shock, you can really say, because his units are not too great. He can't afford to shift, or at least he thinks he can't afford to shift anything yet. And
XGod is shifting some gold here, so he will get that Violet out for wave 6.
Oh, actually, he's repositioning the Era. Yeah, he's shifting. But no, he's adding a fist as well. So he's not shifting enough. He looks to sell at least 2 little fists.
Yeah, I think he will have to sell those fists if he wants the Violet. He'll certainly have to income send. But what if they just go straight wave 7?
I mean, you can always just sacrifice and sell off another little fist to make it a Leviathan instead of a Windhog, and I do wonder whether that's the safer play, considering that you don't know whether the send will come on 6 or on 7.
So Widdowson and Xmithy, they do save. Here comes the income send from Gara and XGod, but they're not in any danger here. Xmithy has the Harbinger, so there's no way that he leaks, and Widdowson, his value is just very high as well, so I think both players are going to end up being just fine here, and meanwhile they continue to save. So XGod, he does get the Violet here, of course, on wave 6, which would have made him very strong here. But how's it going to perform on wave 7 against 3 Brutes?
Yeah, I mean, he could have afforded the Leviathan as well, but he chose to go for the Violet. And whereas the Violet is way better this wave, the Leviathan, especially upgraded and buffing up all the adjacent units, it might have been maybe the safer call. And if you want to look at Widdowson's lane, he has a very nice split there.
I was zoomed in on Widdowson's lane already because this is a work of art. Like, the aggro that he has here is just perfect. Absolutely perfect. He had the Pilgrim tanking the Dino and the Snail. He had both flanks tanking the Roccos. That's just a masterclass of positioning there from Mr. Widdowson.
Yeah,
and they're not even sending on 7. They continue to save. Look at this. There's over 160 Mythium on both Widdowson and Xmithy. When do they want to send it, do you think? Are they going to go for 8? Are they going to go for 9?
I actually can't tell. I think that if someone were to leak here, which probably there's no way that someone leaks here, they might choose to go 8, but looking at that, they might even go 9, because we can see that Gara has stepped up quite a nice amount of Sacred Steeds, so the safer bet would probably be against Gara at least to go 9, whereas XGod is actually probably stronger on wave 9 than 8.
Yeah.
What I want to point out is, look at the workers. Gara is on 6 workers, XGod is on 5, whereas Widdowson and Xmithy are on 9. Usually you're paying for paying. You're usually paying for your workers and your starve, where you're saving. You're paying for that with lost income. But since they're so far ahead on workers, actually they might generate more income off of having so much pressure and sending more rather than getting the income
just
earlier.
To go for income sends.
Yeah, and that's actually the point I was trying to make. And honestly, whereas Widdowson's sends looks like an income send, it really isn't, because Dragon Turtles are flying units, and the ground homing ability of the Leviathan, the aerial command, actually not the aerial command, the Bombardier just hits ground units. And since wave 8 is a ranged wave, it doesn't take damage from that homing missile, and the Dragon Turtles as flying units also don't take damage. So I think that it's a very good send, even though it's an income send.
Yeah. And more to the point, they've just kept Gara and XGod super low workers this whole time. So they can read that Gara and XGod have very high value. Maybe they just don't think it's worth the risk of going for a big leak here. They might as well take the income.
Yeah, that income is actually doing work, at least against XGod. He might even leak here, depending on the
going to leak as
focus.
well, right?
Oh yeah,
maybe the two disciples are fine there.
Oh yeah, he's splitting aggro between his disciples, so he gets to shred the
the
wave.
split focus is just perfect there for him. It does enable him to at least kill pretty much everything, if not everything. XGod, though, he does leak 50% against the 6 Dragon Turtle send there from Widdowson. And yeah, Gara leaks the 3 Lizards as well, so you're completely right. The income send was the right choice here.
Yeah, and I mean, we can see that they're still up on workers on the side of Widdowson and Smithy, so that's huge for them. Not only did they just send for income and are on a higher income count now, they also are on a higher worker count, and they just sent for income, so that's perfect for them, and they really set them up for success going towards the wave 9 and 10 and onwards from that.
Yeah. Wow. So they have a pretty solid income lead, they certainly have a worker advantage, and they even have a bit more value as well. So Widdowson and Xmithy, they're definitely in the driving seat this time around. So now it's up to Gara and XGod to try and make a comeback. And what do you think is their path here?
I mean, I think their path actually for sure involves Dark Ritual, because with their King HP being so low, it's very much worth it, especially considering that your opponents can take an offensive spell. So you would need that gold anyways, because from now on, even like mediocre leagues can cost you your life with just 50% King HP.
Yeah.
But I do really wonder whether Xmithy and Widdowson like choose to take another point of pressure and choose to like take either press the attack or overwork, or whether they will just match the Dark Ritual, which is a fair choice as well. So for me, my eyes are on wave, like past wave 10 and looking at the Legion spells, much rather than looking exactly what's happening here, because I think that no one will choose to send here because the builds are just too strong and the value is actually quite nice for everyone involved.
Yep. Now, everybody saves their Mythium here on wave 10, so it looks like nobody willing to give up the pressure just here. They still want to be able to threaten that massive send enhanced by Overwork or PTA on 11 or 12. But like you say, the Dark Ritual is a very good counter to that, especially for Gara and XGod.
Yeah, I do think so. Actually, I think we will be seeing that Widdowson should most likely add another unit for next wave that will take up the Lost Chieftain Gaia Shield. So he can tank it very nicely, but I think that actually all 4 players will be looking towards Dark Ritual. I don't think anyone will risk going for a knockout punch and being put behind that far. Whereas I could
go for
obviously
the income sends again.
I think everyone's... Yeah, there's XGod's first Dark Ritual. I think everyone's just waiting with... Okay, Gara and XGod are taking Dark Ritual.
Take the Dark Ritual, so they're not worried about hiding their spell choices. Honestly, if I'm Widdowson and Xmithy, I'd probably take PTA, but not send the rest of it here. Just save for a later wave.
No,
I would maybe even do PTA King up. Okay, Xmithy, he takes the gold, so there's the Dark Ritual, taking 20% of their King's HP. Widdowson, is he going to take DR as well?
I mean, there might be a line of thought where he picks press the attack and upgrades some region, but I don't think that's what you want to go for. I think
he goes DR as well. Okay.
Yeah, I think Widdowson and Xmithy are very comfortable just matching whatever their opponents are doing because they're so far ahead that it really doesn't damage them to just keep matching it, and they much rather would stay up to the level they're at than pushing their advantage, because why not?
And Gara can't even really afford to push workers because he was only sent a Dino here on wave 11. Xmithy still holding on to more than 200 Mythium. So they're still in control of this game. They're dictating the pace.
Yeah, and we can see actually everyone holding here. Yeah, everyone's holding
everyone
here.
Holds here. There's no problem with holding on. This is just pure income sends all around. Nobody's in danger here.
Yeah, but that once again favors Widdowson and Xmithy there. They have the higher worker counts. Widdowson also has more income. Xmithy has more Mythium stored, so I do really think that by matching the Gara and XGod with the Dark Rituals, even though they paid more HP for it, actually they didn't come out worse for wear, but rather they're very happy with that choice now.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, Gara, he did actually push one worker off of the Dino 111, but again, he can't afford to do more than that.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. I mean, he's suspecting Smithy to have a lot of Mythium stored,
nice.
and he's very right with that.
So XGod placed a gate here on 12, but I really like what he did. He sold the gate, and what he's doing that for is to hide information. So he can just place a full Hellgate on 13 if he wants to do so, without giving away the information that he has it.
Yeah, that's actually huge. I mean, there was no reason to be expected against Violets and a Leviathan with that much value on the wave anyway, I think. So he took a minor risk, but it will pay off hugely in case they receive a cent here. But
they're not going 13. They're not going 13.
No one's going for 13. I think everyone's looking at the wave 14. I mean, it perfectly makes sense, at least against most of the players. I mean, Widdowson is not too great with so much of his damage coming from his Lost Chieftain. We know that even though for Xmithy the Pegasus tank very nicely, the rest of his build is basically natural or fortified, so they will take a lot of it as well. And Xmithy being on so low income just due to having saved 400 Mythium by now, actually that everyone involved.
But XGod going for the double Soulgate here on 13, it makes him very vulnerable on 14 because Soulgate is a terrible unit on wave 14.
It really is. I mean, he can't even place down like something like an Ocean Tentacle to make it. I wouldn't even say okay, but not as bad.
Here it comes. Here comes potentially the deciding send of the game. There is Pack Leader Witch, double Dragon Turtle from Xmithy, Pack Mole from Widdowson. We have full sends as well, with Gara going 4 Eyes, XGod going Pack Leader, presumably Mole after income as well. But do they have any chance of holding Gara? He's only on 2.7k value. XGod, he's going to be around the same when he finishes building. And the sends that they're receiving are pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted to say. XGod is even below the value of Gara, and actually, I'm very intrigued what's going to happen on Gara's lane, because looking at his build, I feel like maybe a Kraken would have been a more safer choice to break Gara, like from Xmithy. Especially
I kind of like the send, actually,
so
because the spam means it's going to maybe distract a couple of Starcaller shots, like waste those shots on a Dragon Turtle, and the Witch is going to get mana from everything that's killed, so he's going to be able to get quite a lot of value out of that, and you can see the front line is already crumbling. He's down to 1 Pegasus remaining. That now dies, and he's just getting run over, so that will be a big leak from Gara. Meanwhile, XGod, he isn't doing any better. This is 100% leak from XGod, 86% from Gara. This is game here on wave 14. So Gankfire Bananas, they do bring it to a tied series, 1-1 here, wave 14.
And even though Widdowson and Xmithy would have most likely died here as well, they just hold better and longer. And yeah, that really like changed the flow of the game that Xmithy didn't send earlier, and it came down to a huge race on 14 since everyone had the balls to skip wave 13, and yeah, Widdowson and Xmithy come out ahead and tie up the series.
Yeah. And this was a really interesting game, actually. We saw kind of the gambit that Widdowson and Xmithy went for, going with a very risky opener, 6 workers on his Bone Crusher there, knowing, or kind of accepting that he might leak 75% on 2 and just not being scared about that prospect, sending massive 100 Mythium on wave 3, crushing XGod there, 87% leak, even getting a small leak on Gara as well, so they did 30% king damage already, wave 3, very, very strong start to the game there by Widdowson and Xmithy. No more action then, they did a very long save, only to send income on wave 8, but that income was enough to get a leak and to kind of catapult their income advantage. Meanwhile, XGod and Gara, they had stayed super low workers there. 6 workers on Gara, 5 workers on XGod. By wave 8, that's very, very low. So keeping up the pressure there, Widdowson and Xmithy love to see that aggression.
Yeah, and even though they stayed on
more income on 11, into the killing blow. The first time they actually sent something that was a non-income unit was wave 14 when they ended the game.
Yeah, and what I wanted to point out was, even though Gara and XGod stayed on such low workers to like hold the send they will receive, neither of them held it. I mean, Gara at least cleared the entire wave, but there's also like additional gold to be gained by killing the send. So for both of them staying that low workers and leaking as well, that really damage their chances going forward.
Yeah. All right, the lobby is up. Let me invite some players. The friends list kind of jumps around when I try and click on people. It makes it difficult to use.
I think that's some solid feedback for Lisk.
All right.
And I do wonder whether we will see Gara and Xcot like changing up. I mean, they have the chance to choose who they send into because they get to choose positioning since they just lost. So I wonder whether we will see the same positioning Xcot and Gara just lost with, or whether they will go for the positioning they had in the first game where they won.
I think we're going with alternating position, by the way, rather than loser picking, because Xcod and Gara, despite winning in game 1, they did choose the order in game 2, so now Widdowson and Xmithy will choose the order. We're just waiting for Xmithy to join the lobby. There he is, okay.
Yeah. Xmithy wants to make it a 3-1. I think that's totally fair.
Alright, so we're just waiting for the players to decide where they want to send, and then we can get straight into game number 3.
Yeah. And really, now our best of 5 has been downgraded to a best of 3, which makes it like every game's going to count more going onwards. Losing the first game of a series is not that big of a deal, especially not if you can tie it up. But now, like, we're down to a best of 3. If you lose this game, you're on the brink of elimination. Just like there's, or actually, if you win this game, you're on the brink of victory as well.
All right, looks like the players have chosen their order. Widdowson wanting to send into Xcod this time around. So Widdowson is ready, Xcod is ready, French team is ready, English team. Crazy, are you ready?
I'm more than ready. I'm hyped for this.
Then let's get into game number 3. Here goes.
Actually, what we can see is the same positioning we just saw last game. We can see Xmithy sending into Gara, and we can see Widdowson sending into Xcot. And
yeah.
Okay, here it comes.
I saw when the previous game started, someone in chat mentioned that the loading screen shows how international the game is. And now that I see it myself, I love it. Like, we've got Canada, Germany, USA, Britain, all of the flags represented there.
Yeah, kind of sad no one mentioned my Austrian flag there. I mean, the game has really
finished
evolved.
Before I could read all of them.
Yeah, you just don't want to admit that you don't know the flag because it's a tiny country.
Yeah. I mean, I know 4 flags, which is enough, right?
I mean, the game has really evolved from the early days where most of the community was German speaking.
Yeah.
Especially at the top of the ladder. I mean, there really was just Ashton, if I remember it correctly. And to now see, like, there are 2 German people in here, and one of them is an influencer, so he somewhat got to choose here, but also somewhat didn't. But rather that we have a Canadian player as well, and Xmithy as well. And yeah. Okay, let's run on the Legion spells.
This time around, we've got Pulverizer, Giant Snails, and Hero. How do you feel about these spells, Mr. Crazy?
I think that Pulverizer can be very interesting if you have a distinct carry unit. But besides that, you probably are not too likely to take it. I mean, we can see Xcot starting as soon as he might opt for it later. But Giant Snails as well is something very interesting. They do add a lot of value, especially in starved games, because you're otherwise rather small. Send actually gets amplified by a lot.
Yeah.
And we can see Hero. Hero is, I think, one of the all-time great spells. I think that you could argue in almost every meta there was a point and a build for picking Hero. So I think that Hero really is a solid spell overall.
Look at how this this match is developing, by the way. So we've gone from everybody sending king ups to, after the success of the previous game, everybody apart from Xmithy holding on to their Mythium here on wave 1.
And that's kind of interesting, considering that, I mean, first of all, Xmithy sending the king up is really something interesting, because Gara with the Fire Archer start, he needs that. He needs his opponent to release the pressure, because otherwise, a Fire Archer opener is quite punishable.
Yep.
But also, in my opinion, you actually do want to have a king up or ascend yourself on wave 1, so you can potentially even push 6 workers off of receiving a king up on 1 and long waves.
Yep. So we do have the worker advantage on Xgod and Gara, which is pretty nice position for them to be in. Nobody sending still here on wave 2. So are we going to see another big wave 3 send? But then Widdowson, he's in a pretty solid position because he has gargoyles there.
But I mean, wave 3 really is actually the make or break of the most early game games. It's a very unique wave as to 20 frogs spawning and their natural plus magic combination. That's very unique, especially early on. And so many games break on that wave, or at least get set up on this wave. And we can see everyone sending here.
Yeah.
But we can see no one opting for skipping income and going for a brute or something. Everyone's rather preferring to send a unit that gives income and maybe adding after the income as well.
So is Xgod going to send the snail with his 20 Mythium? Or does he just save that for a big send on wave 5 against Xmithy's Nightmare?
I do feel he saves it. If he would have added, he already would have done so, and he did, yeah. Which I think is the correct choice. You expect a Nightmare to either play safe and then stay on 4 workers and push after wave 3, or you expect him to play greedy, but there are really just some openers where you can play greedy and greed 5 workers with a Nightmare.
Yeah.
But that being said, Oathbreaker as your secondary unit is one of those. So you can start safely 5 workers with Nightmare plus Oathbreaker.
We are going to get a leak here on Xgod on wave 3. It's not going to be a big leak, but a leak nonetheless. There's 36%. Gara, of course, holds against his snail, so there's no trouble there. Xgod and Gara, they do have a decent chunk of Mythium left over, though, because they didn't send the rest of their income on wave 3, so they're still posing a threat against Xmithy and Widdowson. Do you think they go wave 4? I'm pretty sure they don't, right? They're just going to go for a massive wave 5 play together.
Yeah, I do agree. I think we will see a massive wave 5, and I mean, it depends. Last game, they actually also managed to get some nice damage on early. They could opt to go even longer than 5, but I think they're too susceptible to sense themselves. So I think that we will see quite a big showdown on 5 again.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Harpies here from Gara. I don't think they add much to the rest of his build, and kind of are weak on the same waves that the rest of his things are weak, like wave 6 and wave 7. They're not amazing, but let's see what he wants to do with that. Meanwhile, Xmithy was feeling under pressure here. He decided to add 3 more Chained Fists here on wave 4, despite having the Nightmare. Xgod, will he get Imps out, or is he just going to go for an income send on 5?
I do feel like he's going to go for an income send, because what we saw even early on, even with much Mythium saved up, people tend to go for income sends. But as I say that, we can see that Gara actually opts for a Hermit.
Yeah, so Gara's going to try to go for a break here on Widdowson. But Widdowson, he stayed 5 workers. I think he may just be able to hold this then. He's probably going to get a Green Devil here.
Yeah, either that or a Bone Crusher. If it's perfectly positioned, the Bone Crusher,
could do Green Devil. And meanwhile, Xmithy, he's just spamming Chain Fist. He even has a Windhawk just for a little bit of added tank value. He's only receiving a Dino and potentially a Snail from Xgod, so I think he should be completely fine. And Widdowson as well, I think he's just going to be okay as well. He's got nice single target magic damage, but actually the Green Devil there being distracted away from the boss and onto the wave instead. So the boss lives a lot longer than it could have done.
Yeah, but it's quite okay, since the Fire Archer just starts depleting its mana early on, and it's fine for him. I mean, you can see him holding there. So
yeah, he's actually holding easily. It's not even close there. He's going to hold with 2 Tempests and the Fire Archer still alive. And meanwhile, Xmithy, he holds his Dino Snail Send as well. So pretty solid there. Meanwhile, Xmithy and Widdowson, they have a lot of Mythium saved up. Are they going to go for another massive wave 7 like we saw in the previous game?
Yeah, that's what I think. And it really paid off for especially Widdowson, who stayed on 4 workers, choosing to not on 5 workers, choosing not to greed as everyone else did, and rather be safe. And he held his wave 5, and now he could push up to 7 workers. And I mean, having saved up 150 Mythium on Xmithy and 100 Mythium on Widdowson, I mean, that can threaten a potential very big send on wave 7. I mean, Gara and Xgod, they gotta find a way to deal with that. And what do you think, Penny? What are Xcot and Gara's options to hold a send here, hold that much of a send here?
I just don't know. I mean, X-God for sure has options because he's got those veterans. So, like, 2 boosted veterans are insanely strong on Wave 7. But that is, of course, permanent gold loss. You pay that 20 gold to boost a veteran, you're never getting it back. But I think he doesn't have a choice. I think he has to boost 2 veterans here to have any hope of holding Wave 7.
And we can see the team of Xmithy and Widdison combined sending 5 brutes. That's not 1 brute, that's not 2 brutes, that's 5 brutes. If that reaches the king.
That's a lot of friends. And Gara's receiving the triple brute there, which is just going to be absolutely devastating against his Samurai Soul and his Bone Crusher, which is his only front line here. Now, X-God, he could only afford to boost the 1 veteran, but I think he might be okay. He's only receiving 2 brutes, which is 1 less than the 3, quick math lesson for you there, than Gara receives. Now, Gara, I think he is just going to be in a lot of trouble, though. There's no 2 ways about this.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, usually it's quite okay to have a Samurai Soul or Eternal Wanderer, because it tends to split the aggro. It tanks a lot, and then it dies, and then it can, like, be backline DPS with its added attack speed.
Look at this. 99% there from Gara.
Everything that Gara had just got shredded so quickly, and that...
X-God does hold, though. X-God does hold. That's big. So we're not going to get the king damage that we saw early on in the first 2 games. I mean, he's not going to cover this in the mid, so...
Yeah, it will still be king damage, but just not as much.
Not as much as it could have been. He might even kill one of these brutes. I think he will.
He snipes
1 more spell? Oh, he didn't get the spell.
Nope.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but the king deals with it rather quickly, and it's not as bad as last game. So
for sure.
I think it's okay-ish regarding how they did, but to say that, I mean, Xcot and Gara are on 9 and 7 workers, whereas Xmithy and Widdison pushed up to 11 and 10 since they just received an income send and king up. So
yeah,
Xmithy and Widdison really setting themselves up again with a nice early game.
And Xmithy deciding to go for a brute resend here on wave 8. What do you think about that?
I do actually like it a bunch because he can add a Dragon Turtle as well. The Dragon Turtle will then just soak up the magic damage from the Fire Archers.
Yeah.
And the Brute should actually, like, ensure that the Samurai Soul doesn't get enabled. And as soon as the Samurai Soul dies...
He doesn't send the... Oh, he does send the red. There is a Dragon Turtle, just exactly as you said.
Yeah, that was to be expected. I mean, but actually, also for Gara, his Fire Archers are getting sniped.
His Fire Archers are dead, and that's most of his DPS, honestly.
Yeah, really, that's really a problem. I do wonder why he chose to not protect him there. And now the Brute is also tanking. It's quite nice tanking, to be honest, as a natural unit against Pierce and impact damage.
This is going to be a leak here on Gara with 900 value on wave 8.
And it's not just going to be a leak, it's a big leak.
58% there from the 100 resend of Xmithy. Solid play there from the jungler.
I mean, for now, he's the jungler since we got Meteors eliminated yesterday. Yeah, actually, I mean, we can see Xcode once again covering quite nicely for his teammate, but I mean, Gara staying so low on workers and then leaking again, that really damages him going forward.
It's really painful for Gara, actually. He's struggling so far in this game. And Xmithy is just keeping up the pressure with a resend. This might actually be a blessing for Gara, though, because Wave 9 is his strongest wave, so I don't expect him to leak Wave 9 at all. Meanwhile though, Widdison, he goes for a full triple brute send here on Wave 9. Xcod does get the ball though.
And I feel like that this triple brute and Widdison sending so much has to be the reason behind Xmithy sending as well. Yeah. I don't think Xmithy would have sent here alone. I really can't see it, especially not sending a dino. I think if Xmithy were to send here, which in my opinion also probably would have been the safer bet since they look like they want to force king damage, he could have gone for 2 brutes as well.
He could.
We can see that
Gara's going to hold this easily. It's only a dino. It's his strongest wave. We just need to focus on Xcod's lane to see how he's going to cope with 3 brutes and a dragon turtle.
And that's quite a lot. I mean, that's over 200.
Yeah.
But that's also the amount of medium that Xcod and Gara have stored themselves. So
Yeah.
If Xcode does get severely punished here, we will most likely look at like a big revenge send next wave.
It is going to be a big leak on Xgod, but of course, Gara's going to hold here. So 79% there on Xgod. Gara's going to hold with around about a 50% HP Samurai Soul in its revived state. So he's going to be able to do some cleanup on the mid. In fact, one of his Harpies was upgraded, so that Sky Queen with high mana, even though it's bad on wave 9, it can still deal some serious DPS at this point.
And that's quite a nice unit. I mean, Gara sold off one of his Harpies prior to this wave in order to be able to afford a Sky Queen, and that Sky Queen holding here in the mid post the gate, that really paid off.
Pretty clutch. Are they going to go for a wave 10 send against Xmithie and Widdowson, or do they save even longer?
I mean, I do feel like if they
longer
want to send, they would have partially sent before the Giant Snails were available, so I don't think we will see a send necessarily here, but maybe on 11. So.
I mean, they have the option to do something like Siege Ram on wave 11. Now, Xmithie, he does get his Doppelganger here, which of course is amazing on wave 10, but it sucks on wave 11, especially if there's something insane like a Siege Ram coming out. Like, he never kills a Siege Ram.
Yeah, and I do really wonder what his options here are. I mean, when he picked his role, he probably was very much looking at something like Disciple and Gates, and especially in combination with the King, with the Legion spell of Hero, that's quite nice. But being under so much pressure, I don't know whether he can afford to build up that plan. I don't think he can afford to place a Disciple.
Now, Gara, he did snipe out the mole very quickly there from Xmithie. But his two Sky Queens, they get reached by the boss a bit too quickly. That will be a leak there from him. It will also be a leak from Xgod. So actually, these guys are kind of playing on the edge here, because with only 2 attacks upgraded on their king, this is going to be a lot of damage.
Yeah, and you can't even say that Xgod got that much. I mean, he had just a Fiend and 2 Thing-Ups, and that was enough to make him leak. But that being said, at least he's on 350 million, and we can see the send coming out. There's a Witch, and I very much assume that it will be paired with some giant snails coming in.
Goes 4 eyes. Okay, so they will take the giant snails. They're going to send a full raft of 8 giant snails each. Honestly, I think Xgod should have sent a Siege Ram.
Phew. I do think so, but I think that Xgod's line of thought is what if Xmithie had a Butcher paired with his Doppelganger. Doppelganger with Pulverizer would just stun lock the Siege Ram, so you only have its tank value. And I think that was what he was aware of, and that's the reason he sent the Giant Snails and the 4S. Also saying that going forward, the Giant Snails will add value to every cent you have. A Giant Snail is just way better than any normal snail. You might even argue it's better than Dragon Turtle or Lizard.
Now, Xmithie, he did do a double hardened Mudman here, which at least is a fairly strong tank line for him, and you can't underestimate Pulverizer on a Doppelganger. It's almost a shame that Xmithie didn't get Butcher in his role, because if you have Pulverizer Doppelganger with Lifesteal, that unit is just an insane powerhouse. Meanwhile, in Widdowson's lane, how is he performing? Very well, it looks like. He kills the Witch.
I want to point out that the Doppelganger of Xmithie just stun-locked the 4-Eyes and really did a very good job of cleaning up everything, just due to the nature of the 4-Eyes not being able to attack.
Yeah, it's a leak on him, and a 50 gold shutdown, and a leak on Widdowson, 25 gold shutdown, but these leaks are very small. So despite the fact that they get shutdown gold, I just don't know that this is going to be enough to get Xgod and Gara back into the game. I think Xmithie and Widdowson, they still have the advantage in this game.
I do feel the same way, especially considering that they do have some king upgrades, so they will clear up the wave rather quickly and be fine. And in case they should leak going forward, they will still be better off. I mean, they've got king upgrades, they've got way more king HP, so I do think at this game of the state of the game, we have to favor Widdowson and Xmithie. And I mean, look at their workers now. They pushed up so heavily, and they're on more income, more workers, more value, even more Mythium saved by now.
Yeah. This is a pretty tough ask for Xgod and Gara. They're going to have to do something special once again to get back into the game. They are playing off the back foot.
Also, what I want to point out, even though Xmithie and Widdowson just gave away 50 and 25 gold shutdown, they're on an even higher shutdown now. So that really paints the picture of them not being punished or as much punished as much as you would think they were by giving away the shutdown. They just pulled up ahead even further. Okay, and so we can see everyone wrapping up wave 12, and we can see the first send coming out, and there is Xmithy sending an ogre, and Widdowson also managing to send an ogre before income, and
that's impressive stuff, dude.
I don't think their send will be matched. I think XGod and Gara are calling a hold here and trying to break Xmithy and Widdowson later on with them.
They're so weak here. Like, XGod, he has got Starcaller Zeus, which is very strong DPS, but all of his tanks are very weak on wave 13. And meanwhile, if we look at Gara's lane, not only is he super low value, but he doesn't have any damage here. He's got the 3 Sky Queens, which are dreadful on wave 13, and all of his tank line, apart from 1 King Claw, it's all fortified. So wave 13 is just going to walk through Gara's tank line like it's made out of butter.
And it's, in my opinion, it's time for a bit of educational educational content here. I do really think that 3 Sky Queens are not what you're hoping for that early on in the game. You really want to have more of a tank line in order for 1 or maybe 2 Sky Queens to stack up. Otherwise, you will run into this problem, which we can see here.
So XGod's doing very well, but I don't think he holds. And Gara leaks 92%. That is game here. So actually, ganked by Bananas, they will take a decisive 2-1 lead in today's grand final. XGod doing extremely well with his value.
He's even holding. He's holding. No,
he's not quite holding. He leaks the Golem there, but regardless, he wouldn't have been able to hold Gara's leak there in the mid. So this is GG in favour of Xmithy and Widdowson. 2-1 lead so far in this grand final.
Yeah, I mean, that means they just have 1 game to go to take it. I mean, that really puts additional pressure onto XGod and Gara, the team that yesterday went with just 1 mere loss. They already lost 2 games now in the final, and we'll have to see how well they can perform under pressure.
Yeah. So let's have a quick scroll back through the waves before we open the next lobby. We can see a bit of a leak there on XGod wave 3, but the game's still pretty even at this point. Widdowson forced to stay 5 workers, does then hold the wave 5 send from Gara. Then we got that massive leak against Gara on wave 7 with the 200 send. XGod pulling out a clutch hold, able to minimise the damage they took there on wave 7. I think wave 8 is probably where the game started to slip away from XGod and Gara, with Gara then leaking to the resend, despite having very high value. XGod, because of that long wave then, he was not able to hold wave 9, 79% leak there. And a re-leak versus a small send on wave 10, giving Xmithy and Widdowson enough gold to not quite hold, but do extremely well versus the massive send on wave 11 from XGod and Gara. And they needed to get a lot more done. I think if XGod and Gara had done, you know, like 50, 60, 70% king damage on 11, maybe they can even out the game once more. But with only 30% damage done there, it's just not enough. They didn't get enough gold from their long save. And Xmithy and Widdowson, they just had an unassailable lead, able to take the game there on wave 13. So really well played to those guys.
I mean, I gotta admit that Xmithy's Pulverizer on his Doppelganger really came on clutch on 11. He stunlocked the 4-Eyes. I mean, otherwise the 4-Eyes would have shredded through his Doppelganger, but this way it just didn't do anything. It just acted as another tank, and that really set Xmithy up for very, like, we can call it success. Leaking 33% to Giant Slayers and a 400 send is quite, it's more than okay. It's you take those.
Yeah. That was some pretty insane play. Let me just update the scoreboard to reflect ganked by Banana's lead. So how are you feeling, Crazy? Now that we've seen the first 3 matches and there is an advantage on the side of ganked by Bananas, are we going to see a 3-1, or can Atomic Pyro bring it back now, at least to make sure that we see a Game 5?
Well, I do personally hope we get to see a Game 5. I think when stakes can't get higher and when everything's on the line, you get to see really what the players are made of. Whether they crumble under pressure, whether they can pull out some magic trick that no one's ever seen before, and that's even better than what we saw before. That will really make a difference, and that's why I really do hope we can go for a game 5. So you ask me what I think, I'm telling you what I hope for.
Yeah. I for sure hope for a game 5 as well. I think that's what the viewers want to see. That's what the casters want to see. It's certainly what Gara and XGod want to see. They definitely don't want to go out in a 3-1 fashion here today. And to be fair to them, the way they've played, they don't deserve to. I'm pretty sure that they can win this game number 4 and make sure that we get to see the full 5-game series tonight.
I do agree. I think they can do it. The question is, I mean, for now, the momentum for sure is in the hands of Widders and Xpedia. I mean, they won the last 2 games. They just dropped the first one, and they won the last 2. So I do think that they are at least considering the momentum they're favored here.
Yep. All right. So the players, it looks like, are ready. At least XGod's team is ready. The French team are ready, and Widderson's team are ready. So good luck to everyone. Let's get into game number 4.
It's going to be an exciting one, and we will see whether XGod and Gara can bring it back, can wrest it back, can bring it to game 5, make the best of 5 go to the full distance, and maybe even come out with the win, or whether Widders and Xmithy can close it out here and take home the prize of $500.
Yep.
For the first place.
Let's get into it. I'm pretty hyped. Crazy, are you hyped?
I'm hyped. I do really hope we get to see a nice game of Legion TD here, and I hope we're set up for success. But you know what's very interesting for this game? The set of Legion spells we got here. We got Pawn Shop, we got Giant Snails, and we got Overwork. So none of them is fairly vanilla. All of them have some very unique use cases.
Yeah, and we saw Giant Snails not quite doing it for XGod and Gara in the previous game. But maybe they can make use of it this time around.
I do hope so, but I think that Giant Snails, especially since it adds value on to your normal send, can be actually quite heavily counted with the Pawn Shop play. So the game we saw, or the last game we saw, could have gone totally different if there was a Pawn Shop in there. Yeah. For Widders and Xvidea. I think they would have held probably even better. So that really cancels each other out. And the Overwork basically is just the same as the Giant Snails, maybe even.
Let me just stop you for a minute there, because XGod, he's gone for the Windhawk opener. And remember Xmithy, he sent a snail last game. So is he going to repeat that? If he does, this is an incredible start to game number 4. Because getting your Windhawk or your Wild Shroom snailed on wave 1 is just absolutely devastating. Gara, though, by the way, again, he's gone back to lock-in, I think. He's just said, I want to play what I'm comfortable with. It might not be the most powerful, but I know how to play Pyro. I'm going with what I know. And I like that. I like that he's decided to do that.
Yeah, I do think that that's a wise choice. And actually, at the trial game, we saw someone at least spending some Mythium on wave 1 or prior to wave 1, but now no one sent. Everyone's on 20 Mythium each. They not choose to king up. No one chose to send a snail, so I think that's high pressure gaming onto your opponents here, and that's high pressure in a high pressure situation.
Yeah. Oh, nobody is willing to give their enemy team an advantage with a king up on 1. They don't want to relieve the pressure. I think we'll probably end up seeing wave 3 sends all around, though. Okay, never mind. XGod goes for a snail here. So Widderson, he has to hold this because his friend is doing an egg here on wave 2. He doesn't want it to be a long wave.
What I want to point out is XGod having to send the snail here since he wanted to place down the false maiden. He needed that gold. That's why he sent for it on the snail.
I think Xmithy's Polywog was too close. Okay, that's better. He's repositioned. So Widderson, of course, will easily hold the snail. He actually added 3 buzzes here.
I think he wanted to be totally sure that he doesn't leak, because if Widderson would have leaked here, he could have majorly screwed over his teammate.
Yeah. So Widderson made the right call there. He did get a small send. It was only 1 snail, but he's able to hold it very easily. XGod, he knows how to play against eggs, though. As soon as he sees that egg, straight up to 6 workers.
Yeah, and let me remind you, the first game of the semi-final, XGod he also got sent by an egg. And he also had his masks, and he greeted out of this game. Like he greeted not even out of this game. He greeted out of the orbit. And I mean, he's on 6 workers now, because Xmithy is still stuck on 2 workers because he wants to get his egg through, and that really can put additional pressure onto Widdowson because Xcode just has so many workers and is able to send a lot more than you would usually see.
I think this positioning is good against DT Snail. What we need is for the Seraphim to ignore the Dragon Turtle. And it does. Perfect. Okay, that's a hold. That is a hold.
Yeah, that's quite a nice hold as well.
If the Seraphim attacks the Dragon Turtle there, he leaks and his egg dies. But with that aggro, it's really nice. This is just perfect for him. Yeah,
but it still is time that he's spending on 2 or 3 workers, now 4 workers. Whereas Xcode is on 7 workers. He pushed another one. He received a snail, and even though he's leaking 28%.
Oh, Xcode is very happy to leak here. Very, very happy to leak. Like, this is just creating long waves while he has a massive worker advantage, 7 versus the 6 on Xmithy. I mean, we saw how well he played against Egg in the semi-final, so let's see a repeat of that right now with Xcode. He probably even shifts a little bit of gold so that he can get his Violet out for wave 5.
Yeah, the point is that Xmithy is just stuck on 4 workers for now. He's only 40 with him. He can't punish Xcode's greed for now. There might be a way if he calls out the shift now, but I don't think he will, and that just plays into the cards of Xcode. Yeah, we can see no sense coming out, so everyone's like holding their nerves for now, and the one who's the happiest about that is probably Xcode, since he just shifted a bit of gold.
Yeah. He should be able to get his Violet out for wave 5 now. He may need to send for income as well, which is a bit of a shame because actually Widdowson's very weak on wave 6.
I do agree, but if Xcode sends here, he might as well like do it fully. I think if you can send a 120 cent... Oh, he chooses not to.
He actually saves. He's going to go for a massive wave 6 then, but guess what? Xmithy and Widdowson, they save as well. So Ascend here, I think, would have punished Xcode pretty handily. Like, I know he gets the Pilgrim here, which is a very, very strong unit on wave 5, but the rest of his units are just absolute garbage on this wave. So any kind of send from Xmithy would have destroyed him here.
Let me interrupt you there. I think Xmithy could still send a Hermit after income, and right there.
He could, but he's not. He chooses not to. So this will be a hold then from Xcode, especially with this pretty nice positioning with the Pilgrim able to tank the boss. That's really perfect for him. So I think he might be fine. Actually, he might even still leak.
No, I don't think he does. I think that...
But the Windhawk's not tanking.
Yeah, but it will still clear off in...
Yeah, it's enough. It's enough. But yeah, this would have been a catastrophic leak if Xmithy had sent a Hermit there. It would have been a massive leak there. But here come the sends. Mole, Imps from Widdowson and Xmithy.
Here comes the send, but just from
Xcode and Gara. Dude! I don't think I've ever seen a Kingclaw on wave 6.
I mean, it's good, especially considering he does not get any Brutes or Imps, but I mean, Xcode not sending here and Gara just sending a send. Xcode is almost on 200 Mythium there.
Yeah. Xcode will leak here, though. Xcode's going to leak here a lot. It's not going to be a small leak. But I really want to watch this Kingclaw in action on wave 6. I have never seen a Kingclaw on 6 before. I expect to see the pings coming out for that.
No, it's not happening, but actually his Kingclaw is very nicely spreading aggro with the Pyro. The Pyro is not even good.
That's really
on this
good
wave.
Positioning there from Gara. Not only good positioning, but very good, like, foresight to shift his gold there on wave 5 instead of pushing the workers, knowing that Xcode needs the cover, knowing that they're going for a longer save onto wave 7 or 8, and he just played this very, very well from Mr. Gara, able to cover his own lane easily and even deal some damage against Xcode's leak in the mid.
Yeah, but I do wonder, will that be enough? I mean, they can send a big bunch of Mythium next wave, but they actually will take a fair amount of damage here as well.
Yeah. They will take a lot of damage, but that Kingclaw getting off one more spell does a lot of damage against the creeps there from Xcode's leak. And yeah, the King damage, it really isn't nearly what it could have been. They're only down to 80%. And here comes the answering send from Xcode and Gara. There's a Mole, there's a Brute. Xcode will be able to send another Brute as well after income. And I mean, I don't. Wooderson, he can do a Millennium here. He needs to sell his Groll for it, but that's absolutely what he has to do here. And meanwhile, Xmithy, he goes for a Bunk, which obviously is a very good unit on this wave. But Hydra's trash, and Seraphin's trash.
I do agree, but actually, if he can get his banana bug to perfectly tank, and I think that's the reason.
Wooderson, by the way, he actually didn't go for the Millennium. He went for more Gargoyles, a couple of Buzzes, and a Disciple. I think that's... I don't know, I just don't think that's going to do it for him here.
I don't think the Millennium would have done it here. I think he tried to counter the mold set, the Brute Send. I think expecting Brutes, since he's playing Green Devils already, he was willing to rather put his money on Disciple to counter it instead of
Xmithy actually full holds though. So the send from Gara was just not as big. Like, sure, Gara was able to hold his own lane, but at the cost of being low worker, which meant that he just couldn't send as nearly as much as XGod sent here on wave 7. The 240 send, getting a massive leak there from Wooderson. 103% leak on wave 7. They are going to get quite a lot of king damage here.
Yeah. I mean, it's a mole and a brute marching towards the king with some sludges as well. I mean, it's not extremely bad, but it for sure is. Like, it puts Wooderson in a very uncomfortable position. I mean, Xmithy is fine. He's on 11 workers, he got his egg, he's pushing, he's the one with the highest workers in the game. But Wooderson, he's stuck on 7 workers, even though he just received the send.
Yeah, but XGod, he's also on 7 workers himself, so not exactly in a perfect position either, and looking pretty vulnerable on wave 9, I have to say. Gara, though, he's very strong on 9, so he can cover there.
I mean, XGod being stuck on 7 workers really came down to him getting punished with that big send from Xmithy, where he didn't hold on 6. So that really was his downfall, because he greeted out early, and if he would have held that, he would have probably been miles ahead of everyone else. But since he leaked rather big, he's not even in that great of a shape, even though the pressure that the Hydra or the egg early on had, it doesn't apply anymore, because now the egg that was 2 workers is a Hydra, and Hydra is just so much value if you can get through it and if you can live with it. I mean, you can see that Xmithy is on 11 workers just due to this Hydra being so much more value than a normal unit for 275 gold.
And we don't see any sends on wave 9, so all 4 players continue to save here. Do you think we're going to see wave 10?
I mean, looking at the builds, I would argue that King Claw plus Rangers are actually quite fine, especially if you can boost the Veteran in there as well. But the Pyro is bad on Gara's side. And for XGod and Wooderson, we can see the Disciples that are very nice. And for Xmithy, we can now see the Halo. So I think they might actually rather opt for a wave 11 send instead of a wave 10 send.
Gara's going for Rangers, so he certainly is building against a wave 10 send. And we do see the Millennium coming out from Wooderson and the Halo from Xmithy. So maybe that's enough to deter a wave 10 send against them.
Upon further consideration, I do actually think that Wooderson and Xmithy are quite fine off sending here. I mean, there's a healer and there are 2 maidens on XGod as well. But I do wonder whether Daphnes are enough to deter them from that plan. No, it's not.
And an Ogre from Mr. Wooderson. Meanwhile, XGod and Gara, they do save their Mythium.
But I do agree with that. I think XGod and Gara, they can't send here. After seeing the Radiant Halo on Xmithy, there's no way you break him. If he can upgrade that into an Arc of Justice, it will just shred through the boss, especially since he has a Hydra to tank for it. And I think that's what they feared, so they chose to rather not send. But it puts them into...
just have a decent chance to hold here? Like, he's got double Daphne, he's got a couple of bazookas for damage.
I mean, Gara actually
does... with the Ogre, so the Daphnes are not being distracted in any way, shape or form. They straight onto the boss with all of their boss-focused damage.
I mean, the reason for the send here really wasn't Gara. I think the reason majorly was XGod with 2 masks and the Desert Pilgrim. But actually he's doing way better than expected.
And we do get a leak on Gara as well. Hello? This is going to be a ton of damage. I don't even know that they survived. Like, the bosses are very low. That's the saving grace. The bosses are both very, very low.
I mean, they're still on a fair amount of king HP, so it shouldn't be that bad. But it really is now up to them, like getting their revenge next wave.
Yeah, that Four Eyes will go down, but look how low their king is dropping here. 25%, now below 20. The Ogre gets out another smash. Does it get another? It does not. 18% king HP. They don't send on 11. They do, of course, take the giant snails.
Yeah, and those giant snails, I think they show us that it will most likely be a wave 12 play. I think against a Millennium that you can see, and the Hydra most likely attempted into a 12. I don't think you can afford to go 13, because if they were to go 13, they would probably get shredded themselves there.
Yeah.
So I do think. Oh, actually, that's genius from Wilson and Smithy. I do very much like it. I gotta say, because there's a solid chance you can get a leak on X-God, and you might even get one on Gara, and you're really looking at killing them before they can get their own send out.
I mean, their value is very low. And the giant snails here, it might just be enough to tip them over the edge. And remember, they have 18% king HP, so it doesn't need to be a big leak to end the game here.
Yeah, and for now it really looks good for Smith and Winston, especially on X-God's lane.
X-God's getting destroyed. This is it. This is game. This isn't just game. This is game, set, and match. This is Ganked by Bananas taking a 3-1 victory in this Superstar Cup.
And that's a very solid play here to send. I love it. I mean, I do love the send here, and they really called out that X-God and Gara might save long, and they just like they did yesterday and in the games prior. And that was actually the one time where they saved long, and it was just too long to save.
Yeah, and really, really well played there by Widdowson and X-Mithy, taking a decisive 3-1 series in this grand final. Very, very well played.
And I gotta admit, I think there were many teams favored, but not everyone thought about Widdowson and X-Mithy. I mean, they even came in as a third place for this. I think they came as a third place. Yeah, they did. They came in the third place to the second day, and they beat the team of Ashton and Firebat convincingly 2-0, and they actually even take the final 3-1. That's actually huge.
I'm going to see if Mr. Widdowson wants to do a quick winners interview.
Oh, that would be great.
So, yeah, I mean, we saw that massive leak on X-God on wave 6, with the answering leak on Widdowson on 7, but the fact that X-Mithy was able to hold there was huge for them. And then we saw the re-leak on 10, followed by a very, very small send. So you're ending the game there with 120 Mythium and an 80 Mythium send on X-God and Gara.
But I mean, that's really what giant snails bring to the play. I mean, they're so cheap. I mean, they cost the same thing as a normal snail, and you often can squeak in a snail or two if you want. And adding so much value, so much tank value, especially on a ranged wave like 10, the giant snails are worth so much more than you would anticipate, and especially if you're sending just low amounts of Mythium because the game is very starved, or in this case, because you just send. Those giant snails can really throw your opponent off, and really, like it happened in this case, can really net you the win.
Nice.
Okay. I mean, I don't know whether he's up for it, but could we interview the entire winning team?
Yeah, let me just swap over to have a look at the scoreboard here. We will update that just so that everybody is aware of who the winner of this cup is. It was, of course, Ganked by Bananas, the decisive 3-1 victory in this Superstar Cup. So very, very well played to them.
And hey there, Widdowson. Glad that you have joined us. You made a run from being the third seed after the first day in the bracket and running up and beating the second place team, and then running over actually the first seed team, winning convincingly 3-1. What are your thoughts?
1 second, I thought Xmitty also wants to join, but maybe
I might have to give him rights. Let me.
Can you invite him over?
Yeah.
Wait, he could just move into a channel down there, and you're moving him in.
I've given him the tournament caster role, so he should be able to see that now as well. Can we invite him in again?
Are you guys doing it, or?
I've given him the tournament caster role, so he should be able to access the room now. But I think you might have to invite him because he's not in my friends list.
Oh wow, how do I do that? 1 second.
think if you right-click the tournament
So,
caster's name, then there's an invite people button.
I see.
Technical delays.
Uh,
We're a very professional crew around here.
I'll be right back, boy.
Oh, all right. So just while we wait for Widdowson and Xmithy to return, we can always move to another channel as well if we need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it would have been easiest if Xmithy would have just joined the channel. You could have moved him in here, but
Yeah.
oh yeah, we got them now.
Hello, Xmithy,
Right.
Widdowson. Congratulations to you two, the winners of the Superstar Cup. Very, very well played.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I mean,
how did you
as I
find
said
the
earlier-
transition, Xmithy? How did you find the transition between League and Legion TD2?
I guess first thing is don't play League that much anymore.
Okay.
And I just play like a lot of different games, and Legion TD was one of them. I enjoyed it before. I think when it was released, I think 5 years ago, I played like maybe five or 10 games or so. And then after that, I'm actually good friends with Jules, and he
Okay.
gave me a key to play with my friends and stuff. And then yeah, I enjoyed it so far.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. Jules is an awesome guy.
Yeah.
When you've been really grinding this season, one can see you've played more than 400 ranked or around 400 ranked games, which is quite a lot for an influencer in this tournament. And as I said earlier before you came in, you guys made it to rank 3 in the first day, in the first bracket. You came in rank 3 and you convincingly beat rank 2, and now you're also rather convincingly won the best of 5 final, just dropping the first game. So was that expected? Were you expecting to rally behind your performance and just step it up a bit and just win the cup that easily?
I would say I really had big respect of both enemy teams there, and I didn't expect that we would do it with just dropping one game. I thought that we have a chance of winning the whole thing, but yeah, we did. I would say we did better than what I expected.
I think you performed extremely well. Like the first game was rough for you guys. XGod and Gara just were unstoppable in that first match. But then every game after that, I think you were like pretty much in control from start to finish. You didn't really struggle in any of the maps apart from game one.
Yeah, that's also what I told Xmithy. What is our winning condition and what we need to do against XGod is, if XGod is in the spot where he has the pressure, then he's a really insane player. Like he will just save for exactly the correct wave. He will not do mistakes, and then he will just kill you. But when you're early enough and have the pressure on him, then he will be on low workers the whole game, and he will not know how to come back. He will overbuild for waves. For example, 3 veterans for wave 7, boosted veteran for wave 7. Yes, he holds there, but then he's just dead from wave 9 on. He's just super dead there, and that's what we tried to do. And yeah, we did have great pressure on them, and holy moly, I'm impressed by Xmithy. He played so good as well, and always was on good workers and always was holding perfectly. Was really nicely
Yeah,
done by him.
100%, dude, 100%. I think there was points during the cast where we were wondering which of you was the pro and which the influencer, because Xmithy was carrying a couple of those games for sure.
Definitely.
I mean,
Yeah, but
let me
you
pick up.
guys,
Pardon.
Oh.
Go for it.
Okay. The you guys didn't know, but Witterson was playing 2 PCs there. I wasn't really playing.
No. He's just humble.
How did you
No, I
guys
think
find
pretty
the format, like the whole pairing with pros and influencers? Did you manage to get some practice in before the tournament? Did you enjoy the format? How do you feel about it?
Smitty, you can go.
Oh, well, when Jules messaged me, I was actually pretty excited since I played a lot of Legion TD then, and I wanted to test like if I can't int against like like top players and like playing with a top player. It was pretty, I guess, like eye-opening because like people from like 2200 and like the top 10, it's like there's like a vast difference of skill. So I was like pretty impressed of just pretty much what Witterson thinks of pretty much the whole game.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely, I totally agree with you. And you guys held your own. Clearly, I mean, more than held your own. You took home the victory, but like you were playing against the very best players in the game. You know, you beat Aviator, you beat Adams, you beat XGod, you beat Ashton. You know, these are all insane players in their own right, with very good influencer pairings as well. I think Gara and XGod. I watched a lot of their games on day one in particular, and they were a scary team. Like they played extremely well, losing only one game in the Swiss, and then they dominated their semi-final matchup as well. And then when they kind of steamrolled you guys in game one, I was a little bit scared for you guys. But you know, you didn't like let them scare you or anything like that. You just fought back super hard with that aggressive play. I love that, by the way. The Bone Crusher, 6 workers, Gate Guard, 5 workers, sending massive 100 Mythium on wave 3. You don't often see that. That was a really nice play.
Yeah, we thought about this
tactic.
We thought about this little cheese. I think we did it yesterday accidentally, and I remember, maybe you guys remember as well, but last tournament in the Devilfish Cup, it was XGod and Ashton versus Adamis and me, and every time that XGod did this Crusher opener into us, it just fucked us. We had no real answer, because getting 80 cents on wave 3 is just so hard to manage. And we thought it's a great idea with the Gate Guard, because he's also instantly starting on 5 workers, and we just went for the lock-in and thought, if we want to have pressure, this is the best way possible to have pressure early on.
I mean, it worked. It was insane tech that you did there. Like you used, sounds like you used XGod's own weapon against him, but man, it was absolutely devastating.
But speaking of using XGod's weapon against him, I mean, you said XGod always finds the perfect wave to send and to hold his nerve to, and in the last game you won, where they stored up like 400 Mythium, and you just killed them with the Giant Snails. So I do wonder, were you expecting a send there, or were you just like expecting them to not send and maybe cheese out a win with sending Giant Snails there?
I was calling that. I know how XGod likes to play. I've seen him play a lot of games, and I've seen him use Overwork 12 so often, and I was pretty sure that they tried to overwork 12. I'm not sure if they did. I just saw on the stream right now that it was Giant Snails, right?
Yeah.
For them. But yeah, I saw that they are so dead. Like he had 2 False Maidens that are instantly tanking. He had 2 Disciples which are dead, and the other guy had Pyros and Daphnes. And yeah, I knew that if they save, we win, and we are on huge value, so we might even win the race anyway.
Well, it worked. It was a very good call that you made there at the end.
Gotta take some risks.
Yeah,
and they
for sure.
paid off immensely, gotta admit.
Yeah, you guys played extremely well throughout the series, and I think a very well-deserved win here. So I think we've had a pretty amazing tournament all round. It's been a lot of fun to watch the pros and influencers training together on streams, and obviously the main event has just been incredible. So I'm really pleased for you guys that you managed to take first place, but also a massive congratulations to everyone who took part. Big shout out, of course, to XGod and Gara, who take second place, and of course to Crash and Burn and Necker Spirit, who both made it through to the finals day, each claiming $100 for third and fourth place as well. So very well done to all contestants, and I hope everybody at home has enjoyed the show. Have you guys anything else you'd like to add before we move on?
Witterson, you go ahead first.
Well, I just want to say that it was a really fun tournament, and it was so challenging for all the tournament players to get a new teammate and try to get together a good game plan with the new teammate. And well, I just love to see the competitive scene of Legion growing a little bit, and well, this is the hugest or the biggest prize that we ever saw in a Legion tournament so far. So I'm really I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, for me, thanks for inviting me. Appreciated it. Enjoyed the tournament. Um, Yeah, it was a pleasure working with Witterson, being his hands while he teaches me the game.
I think you do yourself a disservice there, Rick Smithy.
I do think so too. You're too humble. I mean, you won as a team, and I'm sure you both contributed to that. So
Yep, definitely.
Extremely well played, you guys. A very well deserved first place here in the Superstar Cup, and a nice little $500 bonus to go with that.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Congratulations, guys, and thank you for joining us in the winners interview. It's been great to hear your thoughts on the game. Really interesting to hear the players' perspective on some of those decisions.
Yep, thank
Well,
you.
thank you, guys.
And we'll see you around. Congratulations again.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So on that note, guys, I think we just need to wrap up the stream. So before we go, I'd like to say a massive thank you to all of the organisers. That's particularly Mick, who came up with the idea in the first place, Lisk and Jules, who've worked tirelessly to make everything happen, all of the community helpers in Legion TD2, everybody who's been involved. Seraphin, of course, he had the unenviable task of organising the event and running the scores yesterday, getting involved with difficult tiebreaker decisions, etc., etc. It's never easy to organise an event like this, but I think the organisers have done extremely well. A massive thank you as well to all of my fellow casters. There was DB Smiley running a cast yesterday, of course Shadowwings and SSP running the French cast, and last but not least, my amazing co-caster, Mr. Crazy. Once again, I could never have done this without you, so thank you so much for joining me, dude.
thanks for having me, and I hope everyone enjoyed the show. And yeah, I hope we delivered what the players delivered as well. So I hope it wasn't entertaining for everyone. And I do really think that even though this might be a tournament on a quite not so serious note regarding that, the point that some of the influencers are maybe not as skilled as some of the pro players, but I think it really delivered still. And I think we have a worthy winning team, and I think we had a nice show put on.
Yeah, absolutely did. Okay, well, on that note, I think it is about time that we end the stream. So viewers at home, I hope you have enjoyed the show. I know that I certainly have. And that's it for the Superstar Cup in Legion TD2. Congratulations one last time to the winners, Xmithy and Wilson. That is bananas in the jungle. Very, very well played. And Twitch chat viewers, we will see you next time for another Legion TD tournament.